welcome to another video game podcast. It's Kieran and Gareth, and on the last podcast you would have watched, it should go up today as we're recording this. We were mentioning that we're going to try and do a lot of new things, features, and because of the dynamic we have here, where I would be a bit older than Gareth and I would have experienced a lot more of sort of the 8-bit, 16-bit stuff. We're going to try a thing where we say nominate a game or a game series, and it has to be one that Gareth had never previously experienced, and get him to play it and give his verdict on it, what he thinks in 2020 as it is now. There's no point in me sitting telling you how amazing these games are. I played them when I was a kid and I have nostalgia and I'm a wee bit biased and stuff, but he's coming at them completely fresh. So if they're bad games, they're bad games, and he'll say, so beware.
I'm probably going to hurt a few people's feelings today.
You might do.
Probably going to hurt your feelings.
I don't know. I think this one went okay. This one is Street Fighter. Anybody that's a Street Fighter fan, you're going to really enjoy this one. We went right through everything. We didn't play every single game.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
But we played most of them.
We played all the ones with kind of significant differences in them.
Yeah, we went through, we played the first one, 2, we played a couple of variations of that. We went on to Third Strike, we did the alpha games. We didn't play 4 because we played Street Fighter Cross Tekken, which is very, very, very similar, with a few added gameplay features. And then a couple of wee spin-offs like the Capcom versus SNK and things like that there.
And we played 5 as well, the most modern one.
Oh yes, sorry, and we did, yes, yeah. We even watched the anime movies.
Yeah, we watched two of the movies, and I'm actually let's hold off. I'll wait till we get onto them.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd also like to say that this isn't just my first exposure to Street Fighter. This is my first exposure to like a 2D side-on-side fighters.
This is true.
Believe it or not, the only fighting games I'd ever played were like 3D arena ones. So like Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm.
What about Tekken and Soul Calibur?
No, I'd never played them.
They're huge games.
I know they were, but I was never really into the one-on-one combat fighting games.
Really?
I think I had one fighting game for the PS2, and I think it was side-on. I cannot remember for the life of me what it's called, but it was completely I just played it, kicked the shit out of everybody, and then that was me done with it. This is easy.
Yeah. No, I remember reading a thing where fighters in this format with a one-on-one where it's you against another guy, it's almost like I don't want to say simplified, but it's like an RTS game because it's in the moment decisions, and it's strategy based on what you see in front of you. And
you don't get that when you first start playing it. Whenever you first start playing it, you just go in,
spam
all the buttons you can and hope that something happens.
There's no block.
But whenever you start to kind of like the adrenaline starts to come down, you start thinking about it a bit more. It's just like every other kind of 1v1 game. You start to
that's brilliant.
Just try to outthink.
I just love it. I've always loved this format. I think when we were younger, me and my brother got a Sega Mega Drive for Christmas, and it was the Street Fighter Special Champion Edition version of the Mega Drive 1, and you got a 6-button pad with it. Yeah. And then I think up until that, I'd maybe experienced it on the Super Nintendo, maybe in a friend's house or something like that. But I think Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition on the Mega Drive was probably the first fighter I ever played, and I would have. God, I've been a child. Yeah. We used to create our own stories and all, because you'd play the game and you'd beat all the wee stories and what you got. But me and my brother, because you're kids and your imagination, we would make up our own stories. Yeah. We would make it so like E Honda was the bad guy, and you're playing as E Honda and you have to go and beat all the good guys and take over the world with E Honda. But anyway, on the Street Fighter, this was created by a guy called Takashi Nishiyama. He's more regularly known as Piston Takashi. He worked for RM. Capcom, and then went on to work for SNK as well. He made a lot of fighters for them. He's got his own company called Dimps, who actually work on the new Street Fighters now as well, so along with Capcom, so it's a nice wee sort of full circle. But he started making arcade games, and in 1982 he put out Moon Patrol.
Moon Patrol?
No. No, I've never played it. I'm vaguely aware of it, but I've never played it. And then 1984 beat him up Kung Fu Master, which I think came after ER Kung Fu and the other ones, but we'll get on that bit as well. But at Capcom we made Street Fighter, right? And this was the big thing. In 1987 this thing dropped. He then went on to make games for SNK, like I said, but the games that he made: Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, King of Fighters, and it's not a fighting game, but it's one of the best games ever made. Metal Slug. He was heavily involved in that as well. It's crazy. What a guy. In terms of the actual history of the genre, so Heavyweight Champ was the very, very first one in 1976, where you had two people fighting each other, right? Karate Champ sort of popularized that in the 80s. It was 1984. I've got it written down here. And the following year, then ER Kung Fu came, and you would have had then in ER Kung Fu, you would have had the people would have been different. In previous, it would have just been one, two guys that maybe one was a different color, and the moves were the same. Whereas in this one, there was different sort of moves depending on who you picked, so there was a bit more strategy to it. Then Where the Exploding Fist came out on home systems, and that's the first fighting game in the home that people really played regularly. And then 1987 Street Fighter came along, changed everything. They brought special moves and stuff into it, and the funny thing with the original Street Fighter and the special moves, they deliberately made these almost secret, so you had to play with the controller. They didn't tell you what these moves were. People had to work them out. And at first, the sort of the hit space that you have, the timing was very short, so it's very hard to pull these things off. They then changed it to make it you have a little bit more time, and what that led to was an in-game bug that has carried on throughout Street Fighter, and it's the ability to create combos. Because Street Fighter is not built for combos. It's not like Killer Instinct or Mortal Kombat. It's not like that timed combat where you keep volleying people in the air and that. But you can do little combos with the basic moves, like a high kick and a low kick, and you'll get a 2-hit combo. But in the original Street Fighter, when they done this, very good players were able to punch and kick at the same time. So you could do like a low punch and a low kick at the same time if your button presses were quick enough. Yeah. So yes, we'll start with the very first one, 1987 Street Fighter.
Just Street Fighter, nothing else.
Just Street Fighter. Yeah. So you only use Ken and Ryu in this one. If you've never played this.
Japan.
Or USA and Japan. This is the crazy thing. So you pick them based on their nationality. So you don't go in and say, yes, I want Ryu with the red hair, because Ryu has red hair for some reason. And I think in terms of the timeline, this is the very earliest. Like, they are the youngest versions of Ryu and Ken, or Ryu and Ken. I know you're not supposed to say Ryu. That's horrible, apparently.
Really? What?
So I've been told. It's just it's not offensive. It's just a horrendous mispronunciation. It's Ryu, or in Japan it's Ryu. Like, I can't even say it. Like Ryu.
Okay.
It's funny. It's like an R and a Y at the same time. So yeah, where was I there now? So he had his red hair in that. I assume it's probably to do with the limitations of the hardware and stuff, and just to make, add a bit of color where there wasn't one previously. But because it's so early, they can get away with it. We can say Ryu had red hair when he was younger, and then he dyes it he turns into a sort of teenager in Alpha. He must just dye his hair, for his whole life.
Get the blonde tips in. Frosted tips.
Yeah. So you pick them based on Japan or USA, wherever your allegiances lie there. And the final boss in this one is Sagat. Mm-hmm. It's not Bison or Balrog, isn't it? If you're in Japan, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. Because there's a whole thing with that to do with
the names of whatever region you're in, because of like copyrights and.
Well, yes, because in the EU and the US, Balrog is a boxer, and he's quite clearly based on Mike Tyson.
Yes.
And then you've got characters like Fei Long, who are based on like Bruce Lee and things like that. Yep. And depending on the region that you're in, the original names were swapped of the characters. So Balrog was actually
Bison.
Yep. In Japan, and Vega was Balrog, I think so. The Spanish ninja, as they call him.
Yeah, but it was Balrog, the boxer for us, ended up being M. Bison in Japan.
Do you know, I think M. Bison was created for the Western audience.
You think so?
I think so. I don't know. I'm going to have to look that up. But I think originally M. Bison wasn't part of it. And then he was brought in as the leader of Shadowloo, because in Japan, Vega is the leader of Shadowloo. But I think he's Balrog.
So confusing.
But he's called Vega.
Right.
It's a bit of a mess.
It's a bit of a mess.
I'm going to actually
explain.
Yeah. You know what? And I'm aware of this, but it's one of those things that I probably should have firmed that out before I came on and done this.
If you're watching the video, what I'll do is I'll put up like a little chart graphic so you can have a look at it like right now. And it's gone. Okay.
Right. Okay. So, Sagat's the main boss in this one, and he doesn't have a scar.
Okay, yes.
Right, and the reason why he doesn't have a scar is because Ryu gives him it.
Yes.
At the end of the first game. He also has an eye patch. Mm-hmm. Why does he have an eye patch? We talked about this.
The way it's said, it sounds. I don't remember who it was, but the way it's said, it's like, just give me your eye. And, he just pulls it out and gives it to him. But no, I can't remember.
Dan Hibicki's dad.
Dan Hibicki's dad.
His name is, it's like Goo. It's only like 2 letters or something like that. But he, I assume, punched him in the eye and
ripped it out.
As it says, give him the eye patch. So it sounds like
give him the eye patch.
So we'll go, look the state of your eye. Whoa.
Here's an eye patch.
Have an eye patch. Go save us all, like,
Or his eye could just be there and he just gave him the eye patch. Hey, I think you'd look great with an eye patch. There you go.
Yeah. Do you know the very first Street Fighter actually did have the 6-button controls, the full gradient of hits. So when you were playing Marvel vs. Capcom, all the hit buttons are on, like, because you have to use your team moves and stuff with the shoulder buttons. So you don't have the full gradient of low, medium, and high, and kick and punch. But in the original one, the very first one, 1987, it did have that. Yeah. It's very, very impressive wee game for what it was, and when it came out, and it was really successful in the arcades, But onto your impressions. What was when you first flicked it on and we started it up? What went through your head? Were you thinking, "Oh my God, what is he doing here?"
I understand it was like a really old game, but looking at it now, it kind of visually hurts.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
and we didn't play the original build. We played the one that came out on the. It's called. It's in the package. The 30th anniversary or something. It's on the PS4.
Yes, yeah. It's 30th anniversary.
Yes, it was actually the PS4 we played it on.
Yeah,
and it looked okay.
Yeah,
it looked like a really old game.
But when you look at the arcade versions of it, it's desperate.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's a complete comparison to like modern pixel games like Stardew Valley and Terraria. Compared to
I understand. Yeah,
do you know what I
mean? Yeah.
Visually, it just isn't nice to look at compared to those games.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Like just modern.
There's one or two levels
that's always going to be there, though.
Oh, yes, yeah. I mean, it comes with the territory, doesn't it? There is a level in the first one. Excuse me. That I feel like they recreated it in Street Fighter 4, or was it Street Fighter Cross Tekken, where you're at like a train yard, and there's a train with graffiti on it, and it's very barren looking in the original Street Fighter, but I think it's Street Fighter Cross Tekken, the level, it's the sort of makeup of it looks almost the same, but it's just obviously brand new and high res, and I just wonder, is it an inspiration from the very first one? But that level, to me, that looks good. That looks like it could go into Street Fighter 2, but the rest of them are quite plain. Yeah.
Very basic.
I'd agree with that. Fair enough. In terms of the gameplay, in terms of fighters and the depth, with the time that you had with it, how do you think it compares to? Because you have played Mortal Kombat, you have played Tekken now.
I've played Mortal Kombat.
Because since doing this, you've actually quite into fighting. Yeah. So how do you compare it to?
It's not good.
No.
Okay.
No. This hurts a wee bit.
Yeah, I mean,
I've not a massive love for the first one.
Everything feels very clunky. There's no smoothness to it. It's just very. If you played this Street Fighter for like an hour a day for 2 weeks, you could get the hang of it.
Yeah.
But then whenever you move on to like another fighting game, you're not gonna have a chance in any other fighting game. Do you know what I mean? It's very specific.
Yeah. There's clear input lag as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, absolutely. See, at the time, if you'd have said, well, because like I say, the first one I played was Street Fighter 2, and it's relevant as well, compared to modern games in terms of the how quickly something happens based on when you push the button on the control pad. It is a little bit slow, but the first Street Fighters is even slower, and I don't think that at the time people would have noticed. It would have just been the standard. This is really responsive because it was so popular, and compared to games like ER Kung Fu, and it is really responsive, and the depth of the gameplay is great, compared to stuff like that. But not even as like a mobile game for 99p. Would you sit and play it on the bus? I don't know how it would go on a phone screen.
I don't know how it would go on a phone screen either. But if they would make a phone screen one, it wouldn't be the first one. I mean, phones are at the point where you can play like full games of PUBG and Call of Duty on it.
Well, this is true.
They wouldn't remake the first one. Although they did remake Street of Rage for the Street of Rage 2. I think they did for the phone, and it's pretty good actually.
Yeah.
But no.
I would be amazed if there isn't already a Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the phones.
This is what I'm thinking. Yeah.
If they're going to make
it's remake, everywhere. If they're going to remake one classic one, it's going to be Street Fighter 2. It's going to be
Street
Turbo.
Fighter 2, isn't it? Yes, of course. So I think I already know the answer to this, but what if this game was released as a brand new game and it was on the shelves as $9.99?
No, $9.99.
The original Street Fighter in a box.
No chance.
In a box for the Switch?
No. Because you can already get it for the Switch for a less price.
I know, but you'd have it on your shelf and you'd have the original Street Fighter.
I have the 30th anniversary on my shelf. That's perfect for me.
Yeah. Fair enough. That's okay. I'm not going to argue with you on everything.
I would not buy this game for $9.99. I wouldn't even buy it for $6.99. I probably wouldn't buy it for $1.99.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe $1.59.
And you're in this. You're speaking for a generation, sort of.
Yeah.
Right. Because not everybody's going to share your opinions. But the thing is, you're coming at it from a very, very specific angle, and you're going to be probably in 2020. You're going to be in the majority of gamers. You know, people who probably don't even know this game exists. You know, because this is quite funny to a lot of gamers that maybe aren't in the Street Fighter or aren't, you know, maybe weren't core gamers back in like the 80s and 90s. It's funny how many people think Street Fighter 2 was the first game. Like, it's mad.
Why
because the first one never came out on consoles.
Oh, I suppose.
Well, it didn't come out to mainstream ones, like, you know. So I can't remember. Did it might have come out in a TurboGrafx or some one of the sort of less popular consoles. I can't exactly remember, but because it was like when I was a kid, I honestly thought that the first one was Street Fighter 2 because that was the only one I had. Because there was no internet, you'd know. Do you know what I mean? And this was the only one that we were ever exposed to. So, and it is funny even still today, the amount of people that think that 2 is the first game. It's crazy. So what would you give it? If I handed, if you went into the shop and you bought this as a brand new game, out of game, you paid like £10 for it, let's say, and you got it home and you fired it up, and you knew how iconic this was, and it was this amazing game from way back in the day, and you got this and you played it for the first time, what would be your score out of 10?
4 out of 5. Or 4 out of 10, sorry, 4 out of 10. 4 out of 5 is really good.
So
4 out of 10.
For a game that's over 30 years old,
that's alright.
4 out of 10 is alright.
It's alright. There's games released now that have worse reviews.
True.
Yeah.
Very, very true, actually. Yeah. After this, we jumped on the Street Fighter 2.
Of course.
And
we played the Turbo edition of
we
it.
played the PS2 Hyper Fighting edition that has all of the different variations from the 16-bit era. But it's just the gameplay's a little bit tightened. Compared to the SNES and the Mega Drive.
Yeah, I played the SNES one as well. I played it at Nurse's place after we had done this, and just because I seen that he had it sitting, and I had my GameCube with me, so all the things line up perfectly, brilliant.
Let's go.
Just stuck it up, and he had like a fight pad. So he was using that there, and I was using the Wii controllers, and it was good.
What was he like with a fight pad? Do you know, I can't.
Because I think his fight pad's got there's something wrong with the analog stick or one of the buttons. Yes. There's something. It kind of leveled the playing field because Nerps is quite good at it, and
that's good. I think I could get by with a stick, but I definitely couldn't play anyone that was even decent at the game. I would just get smashed. I'm so used to it being on the thumbs and this motion of your hands when you're playing the game. You know, it's so funny. Like, but in the arcade, it's I don't know. I can't do it because even that Pandora box, I have to plug a wee PlayStation controller into it to play the fighting games.
Really?
It really frustrates me because I can't do what I want to do. You know, because I said to you before, I said on a previous podcast, I'm very, very fussy about Street Fighter because I think I'm quite good at it. And if there's something that affects my game, I find it really hard to entertain it. I'm just like see, sitting in your house on New Year's playing it on the Switch with the D-pad on the inside of the pad.
Yeah, that was ruining you.
It racked me. I'll do it.
But you know, for the crack, playing it on the Switch with the Joy-Con. The left Joy-Con with the individual buttons, that's actually quite good.
Really?
Yeah, I actually really enjoy it. I find that I can do the Z motions a lot easier on it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. And do you do it with single button inputs?
Mm-hmm.
Do you? So you don't rub?
No, I'll not rub on it.
Oh, wow.
Unless I have to do like a half moon or something, then I will rub. But
if it's like a Shoryuken or something,
yeah,
so you have to
go,
Z,
just button press. But see, when I play Mortal Kombat now as well, I was just, whenever it's individual button presses, you just...
Mortal Kombat, you do play it like that.
You kind of have to do that, yeah.
Because of the way the gameplay of Mortal Kombat set up, it's sort of timed with your hits, So Street Fighter 2, it was originally titled World Warrior in the arcades, ported to everything. It's not the most ported. I think Doom's the most ported, or possibly Minecraft now. I'm probably out of date now. It's more likely going to be Minecraft.
No, I would say Doom's more likely. You're not going to get Minecraft for like Game Gear and stuff.
This is true, I suppose. History's on the side of Doom, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah.
It's either Doom or Tetris.
Yeah.
One or the other. Yeah.
But Street Fighter has to be up there. It's
definitely a top 10.
It's everywhere.
Street Fighter 2 specifically is probably a top 10.
It's so crazy to think that how popular the N64 was, and it never had a Street Fighter game.
I know, that's crazy.
Not one.
It
didn't really have any.
Killer Instinct. That was kind of it.
It had Killer Instinct. It had Mortal Kombat 4, Sub-Zero, and Mortal Kombat Trilogy, I think it was called. And one or two other ones, Gasp and Biofreaks and Clay Fighter, and there was fighters on there, but the quality of them was
Awful.
horrendous.
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to, I mean, you had the original PlayStation that had Street Fighter Alpha 1, 2, 3, had the EX games, which weren't great to be fair, and then they had the Street Fighter collections. You know, and you know, you'd like 10 Street Fighter games to play on the PS1, but on the N64 you had nothing. And this is funny because like Nintendo brought it to the console. It was Street Fighter 2 came out on the Super Nintendo, and then they got Turbo, and the Mega Drive got Special Champion Edition. So the Mega Drive, Sega or nobody else had the original Street Fighter.
Fighters, yeah.
You know, whenever they first got that, and it's just funny that it ended up going that way. But I think it's a lot to do with how the 64 worked with third party developers. There was a Mega Man game on it, but it might not have been made by Capcom. Anyway, so yeah, it's on Android. I've actually got it written down here. You can play the original Street Fighter on your phone, and it's totally legit. It's a first party game, yeah. So you originally had 8 characters to choose from. You didn't get the 4 bosses, the bad guys, the Vega, Balrog. What do you call them?
M. Bison.
Sagat and M. Bison. You didn't get those in the original game. I think there may have been some kind of input thing you could do to get them.
Probably.
But like I say, I had the Mega Drive back then, so it was the Champion Edition came with the 12 characters. So you got it was the same as Turbo. So you could pick Balrog and play through the game as him if you wanted. And then they came out with the Super Street Fighter, which added another 4 characters. So you got T-Hawk, Kami, DJ, and Fei Long. Yep, they came later. Gameplay through the vast majority of Street Fighter 2 is, although there's so many different variations of it, it's almost exactly the same. The only difference you'll get as you move through time, it'll get a little bit more responsive and a wee bit more sort of poised compared to the old one. The old one's a wee bit loose by today's standards. And if you play the final challengers, it came out on the Switch, the PS4 and the Xbox One, and it is apparently the last ever reboot or remake of Street Fighter 2, but it has 2 more characters. Evil Ryu from the Alpha series. I think that's where he comes from. And then Violent Ken. Stupid name. But I think...
Sounds like a Barbie Ken, you know.
Do you think do you know when Ken gets brainwashed?
Yeah.
Do you think that's where that comes from?
Could be.
It must be.
I
can't think of anywhere else where Violent Ken would come from. But it's the same characters. I assume because the format of these sort of characters, they usually speed them up. Mm-hmm. But their moves can sometimes become more powerful, but their life will go down a lot quicker, or their health will go down a lot quicker. I haven't actually played the brand new one, so I need to try it at some stage. But yes, M. Bison was the big bad guy in this one, and there was a couple of good wee bits of trivia about the original Street Fighter. There was one of the more famous, not the most famous. All your base are belong to us is the most famous
mistranslation.
Yes, that's what I was looking for. In this here one, when you play as Ryu, or if you get beat by him, he has a wee message at the end. You must defeat Shenlong to stand a chance. Now, that was supposed to be Shoryuken, as in his Dragon Punch, right? But whenever it was translated, it said Shenlong, which led to, I forget the name of the magazine, but there was a magazine back in like the early 90s, and they started this rumor that Shenlong was a secret character in Street Fighter 2, which was a complete hoax.
Yep.
It was totally, it just didn't exist. But off the back of this, Capcom created a new character. I think the original name was Shenlong. Then it was, in Japan, it's Gouki. So Gouki. So if you're playing like the old Alpha Zero games, like, you know, sorry, not Alpha Zero, Street Fighter Zero, because that's what Alpha's called. Akuma is called Gouki. Yeah. So yeah, this is where Akuma came from, and they added him to Street Fighter 2 as a secret character. Street Fighter 2 Turbo, as a secret character. If you beat the game under really extreme conditions, like perfect, and all this, you know, you beat it in a certain time, and your score has to be a certain thing, and you will be given the opportunity to. What happens is, I
love what happens. It's really
he comes flying in and knocks the M. Bison out of the way, and then you have to fight him in the M. Bison stage. It's so good. I never seen this playing Street Fighter 2 as a youngster, because I didn't know this existed until actually very recently. But watching the video, I can't describe to you how I would have felt as a kid if that happened. Yeah, I would have lost my mind. I wouldn't have been able to play the game. I'd have been screaming, what? Because I would have had no concept of who this guy is.
Yeah, and then to think about it, like,
because it's okay, we know who Akuma is now.
The game as well. You need to get that good at the game as well.
Oh yeah,
you need to be playing this like hundreds and hundreds of times over.
Yeah,
and then suddenly and
you'll think you know everything about the game, and all of a sudden,
whoa, Yeah.
Akuma comes out of nowhere.
Incredible. That would be. It's fantastic. Those little secrets that were put in old games.
It's so good, isn't it? Yeah. Street Fighter 2. What was your first impression of this one? When we booted it up, when we moved from 1 to 2.
Big difference between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed.
Huge,
really enjoy Street Fighter 2, and I think that's the kind of a popular opinion.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Street Fighter 2 is definitely one of the better ones in my opinion. Even kind of holding it to today's standards, if it was to come out as like a 16-bit fighter or whatever it was, or a 32-bit, it could hold up well because it doesn't look terrible. See, playing on the Turbo Edition on the SNES, with NERPs, it looked really good on just a regular kind of flat screen TV. That's without any kind of filters or anything to make it look better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So modern kind of graphic standards, if it came out as a 32-bit, or is it 32-bit?
No, it's 16.
16-bit. If it came out as a 16-bit fighter, it would be fine.
It's great.
You wouldn't pay more than $7.99 for it though.
Well, it's funny you say that because
it's a standalone game,
but they did bring out a new one. They brought out the Street Fighter 2, the Final Challengers with like Ryu and Ken, and it was a £50 game. Like,
seriously?
Yeah, it was Street Fighter. Like, it's a new Street Fighter 2.
A new Street Fighter 2.
I know, a new Street Fighter 2. I know, it's funny. Make no mistake. I mean, the stature that Street Fighter 2 has within video games, in the history of video games, is humongous. Like, I mean, it wasn't the first, but it refined the genre and popularized it beyond anything it had previously been, and the series has had its ups and downs, but 2 will always be the daddy. Like, I think of all fighting games, and I think even Mortal Kombat fans, back in the day, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter was like Sega Nintendo.
Yeah.
Even
Call of Duty Battlefield.
I think even Mortal Kombat fans would concede that like if it wasn't for Street Fighter, fighting games probably wouldn't exist the way they do now. And you think it holds up well then against the likes of a more modern Mortal Kombat or Tekken?
Yeah, even the more modern Street Fighters, it holds up well as well.
If given the opportunity, would you rather play the new Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter 2?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would probably still rather play Mortal Kombat 11.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Mortal Kombat 11 is just one of those games I've picked up quite recently, so I'm enjoying playing it at the minute. But the problem is I keep holding back the block instead of R2. But we'll leave that and I'll get over that.
That's the problem with these sort of games because
there's no standardization on the controls.
This is it. I know, because if there was, then what would be the point in buying different ones?
Yeah, exactly.
But this is why I like the Neo Geo fighting games, because I can take a break from Street Fighter and go and play King of Fighters, which is a completely different game. Go and play Art of Fighting or World Heroes or something like that there, and it's the same.
Just
the gameplay is exactly the same, so I can bring my game into another game and now you won't be amazed at it because you won't know all the moves and the little nuances of the game, but it gives you that really good base to start and get really heavily into it. But then if you go and play something like Mortal Kombat, Tekken, Soul Calibur,
it's completely different.
Killer Instinct, things like that, and you play them for any extended period of time, you'll end up affecting your Street Fighter game, and you'll have to sort of relearn a lot of stuff when you go back. So this is the problem with these games, and it's a bit like sports games, football games, things like that. If you're used to playing something like PES,
and you swap on,
and then you play FIFA for a long time, it's going to affect your game. And it's the same thing with, like, if you're racing in Grand Theft Auto and then go away and play Forza. I have experienced this. You'll get really good at Forza, and by the time you go back to play the racing in Grand Theft Auto, you've lost your game. So it's funny because it's a bit of a catch-22 when you get a game that is so good. The downside of that is it makes you not want to play other games of the same genre. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know you're getting that.
So how do you? I think you already said there, but if in terms of a new Street Fighter, not the Final Challengers, if they just re-released Street Fighter 2, and it had never previously existed,
you get $6.99 for it. That's kind of
But do you think it would sell? Do you think modern gamers, like, generally people would go in and pick it up off the shelf?
It could probably go for $15.99 and people would buy it.
Okay.
I wouldn't buy it at that price, but people would buy it at that price because they'll see a 16-bit 2D fighter. If Street Fighter 2 never existed, this would be interesting to people, and people would kind of be like, okay, this is cool. Yeah. And they would buy it.
It's very hard for me to think about this without having some kind of prior opinion or something, or some kind of prejudice in some way because I've been so heavily into this game. So it's so it's funny. Like when you're saying, like, if you ask me, like, what if they brought out a new Street Fighter 2? I was like, yeah, you stick it on the shelf, 50 quid. Oh yeah, going back, And then hearing you saying, yeah, 16.99, I'm like, whoa. Jeez.
No, I said this could fit 15.99, 16 quid. People would buy that from a Steam store.
No, I get that. What would you give Street Fighter 2 out of 10?
7.
That's fair enough.
That's a really respectable score. I think comparing it to modern games, it doesn't particularly stand out. Yeah. That's why it's getting that kind of $15.99 price point. That's kind of the 7 out of 10 price points.
There's 7 out of 10s that are going for 50 quid. Like Microsoft put out Gears of War 4 with the Xbox One. This was their big console seller whenever this thing first released, and the wide majority of people would agree that's a 7 out of 10 game. Yeah. It's not great. It's not a brilliant game. It's a fun game. It's Gears of War. The gameplay's brilliant, but it just doesn't do anything else. Not like the newest Gears is much better, but if you consider that this is a current gen game that was made and released to launch and sell a next gen console, Gears of War 4.
Yep.
I mean, it's 7 out of 10 for Street Fighter 2, which came out in 1991.
That's really good.
I'm happy with that. Yeah. I'm happy with that. Yeah.
7 out of 10 is good.
Mm-hmm. Off the back of Street Fighter 2, we went on to watch the movie.
Yeah, so what happened was we were sitting in Kieran's living room, and our pizza arrived, and we're like, you know what, let's stick on the Street Fighter 2 movie and see how this goes.
And I honestly thought it would be, you could rinse a pizza between 4 or 5 of us or whatever. You could rinse a pizza in, couple of minutes, like, and that's it over and done with. And I thought this was such a waste because we'd end up turning it off, and we didn't. We got sucked into this. I know that we just sat there glued to this anime movie for an hour and a half.
All of us on our wee recliners, just all the way back, like, this is brilliant.
I've seen it loads and loads of times, and that was probably the longest I've went from I first watched it. That's probably the longest I've went without watching it to watching it again.
Rewatching it again,
and it was fabulous.
It's really
fabulous. There's a lot of wee things in it, like the appearance of Akuma lying against the wall and stuff.
Against the wall, cross legs.
It's so good.
Yeah.
But
I didn't spot that. You had to point that out to me. I didn't spot that.
Yeah, the camera just pans.
Yeah, he's just sitting there. He's just in the background completely. It is very clearly Akuma.
Oh, 100% it's Akuma, yeah.
And it just slides across the screen, and that's him.
And that's it. That's the only reference you get to him in the Street Fighter movie. And at this point, 1984...
It wasn't really well known that Akuma was in it at this point, was it?
Well, this is the thing. 1984, at this point, the only appearance Akuma had ever had in Street Fighter was as a secret character in Turbo.
Yeah.
Because Alpha didn't come out until a year later.
Yeah.
So he wasn't actually a playable character, and people, you wouldn't have had fans of Akuma the way you do now. But they just stuffed them in. I know I'm a massive fan of Akuma. I really like Akuma too. Or Akuma, with our stupid Western tongues, So, the Street Fighter 2, it led to loads of different sort of media. There's TV series. There's actually a whole series of anime made by other people that isn't manga. ADV did a series that was awful. Then there was the crazy movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme and stuff, which was funny. Interestingly enough, we didn't watch the movie, obviously, because it's
trash.
And just while I'm talking about it, I'll touch on the game. The game is actually okay. The Street Fighter, the movie, the game.
I love the title.
It's so stupid. It's mad how a game can look like something, get turned into a movie, and get turned back into a game, and the two games not look like each other, not represent each other in any way. It's mad. It's almost as if the person who made the Street Fighter 2 movie had no prior concept of this even existing. Yeah. It's just like, here's a story, go and make a movie. Oh yes, let's get Van Damme and Kylie Minogue, and Gomez from the Addams Family. It's fucking madness. It's just madness. So, but the thing is, what this did for the series was it spread out the names. So you got oh God, it's gone out of my, I'm not going to remember this now. But you got to know everybody's surnames. So Ryu is Hyuki, I think.
Oh God,
Houki, I think. Something like that. This isn't written down. I'm just pulling this out of the back of my head just because we were talking about it. But anyway, because of Street Fighter being so big, you get all sorts of media out of it. Like, the anime itself is far and away the best sort of step away from the games in any, like, I don't care what you're talking about. If you're not playing Street Fighter the game, the only thing that stands up to it is the first anime movie. It is absolutely spectacular, and the story is, I won't ruin it, but basically M. Bison wants to take over everything, I guess, with his big corporation, this Shadow Lu corporation. And what he's doing is he's going around the world trying to find all the best fighters, and he has these drones, these weird looking sentient things, or they're cyborg dude things, and they have little cameras. And anybody that gets into a fight, they analyze them and see what their combat rating is. And there's people that are really high and people that are really low. But one spotted Ryu one day, and it was during his fight with Sagat at the end of the first game. And the movie starts with sort of the rain beating down. It's nighttime, and Ryu and Sagat are in this field of sort of long grass, and they're punching and kicking and hammering at each other with the lightning flashing and everything. And Sagat does his tagger knee and his tagger uppercut and everything. And then Ryu, I forget how it happens. I think he dodges a big kick, a big Muay Thai kick or something. And then he just shoot, and he rips him. Like he bursts him open. It's not even like an impact thing. It's almost like Ryu's fist is a blade, and the blood just slices out of him. And he falls to the floor and he holds his chest. And he's sort of mumbling at him, and he gets up and he starts tearing at him and he's screaming. And by the time he's like on top of Ryu, he's actually screaming. And you just see him going, oh, and he pulls out a fireball. And as he throws that Hadouken, it just comes up Street Fighter the animated movie. It is one of the best intros. But while that's happening, this cyborg is analysing Ryu, and when it sees his battle rating, the numbers are just going because he's like too powerful for it even to read. So it becomes an obsession with M. Bison to find Ryu, but because Ryu's just this wanderer who just walks the earth as the crow flies.
You see him crawl up a mountain or up a cliff face, hands on his knees, crawling up a cliff face. Down, just crawling. Absolutely no footing whatsoever. He just puts his knees against the cliff and off he goes. It would be like if you took a camera and got somebody to crawl along as like a baby on their hands and knees, and then turned it vertically, and then turned it vertically. That's what this was like.
That's exactly it's okay, but this is a cartoon. It's funny, but he's this kind of sort of quiet wanderer. One or two people meet him and know who he is, but generally he's just this guy who is immensely powerful and just travels the world getting into rows. You know, people want to fight him all the time because he's clearly so powerful. He beats the hell out of Fei Long, and they have this lovely interaction with her, you know, because they're martial artists, and they have, you know, there's brotherhood here, like, you know, and as Fei Long's, you know, sort of opening up to him and all, and he turns on. And Ryu's away walking off, just up some alleyway, and he's just like, goodbye, brother. He's like, man, he doesn't care. He's away and all, you know. But and E Honda, he bumps into E Honda, and Japanese fighters must stick together.
Yeah, and he brings him up this little shack on his mountain and feeds him and everything. Yeah,
it's great. It's such a good movie. They eventually because he finds Ken Masters, who has a very similar thing, but he's just not quite as powerful. So he ends up taking Ken Masters and brainwashing him to go and get Ryu, and they have this fight.
Epic fight. Watch it. Brilliant. Just watch the movie. It's absolutely worth it.
It's amazing.
I didn't think much of it whenever it started, but the intro was really cool.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was just kind of like eating my pizza watching this, and I just didn't expect to become so engrossed in it.
And God, I never even touched on it. The fight with Chun-Li and Vega.
Yes.
That is probably the highlight of the movie. That is so good. So good. Yeah, you do get to see a bit more of Chun-Li than you're used to seeing. But nobody cares about that, surely.
No, this is
nobody cares about that. Chun-Li, I believe, wasn't the first female character in a fighting game, but am I right in saying she was the first playable female character? Or I can't remember. I think it was more.
There's something about Chun-Li.
It was more to do. It was more to do with the impact of Street Fighter. I think there was already a female character because Street Fighter was so popular, it then paved the way for characters such as Lara Croft and things like that. There are, you know, female protagonists, which at the time it just didn't happen. You know, you were either a robot or a man, you know, or an alien.
Yeah.
You were never a woman. It's so funny, like, you know. And then the game started tacking on, you know, a woman. You know, if you were playing Streets of Rage, you could have Blaze.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's, I don't know, I'm just surmising because I'm quite a cynical person, but I would imagine around about that time, a lot of the female characters were the last to be added. They were just like, God, we need to get a female character in here. People going to complain, you know. So fair play to Capcom for sort of
being the first,
for popularizing it in the way that they did, yeah. But the fight between Vega and Chun-Li,
it's a brilliant fight.
It's tremendous, and it's there's like this sort of smooth jazz music playing, and she's in the shower, and you know. And then she comes out and she's tying her hair up and that there. And all the while, you know that Vega's in the room. You know Vega's there, and he is creeping. Yeah. And you see him.
He is a big creep, like, isn't he? He's just slimy. There's just something about him.
It is like a horror movie, that whole section. You just see her going around by herself. It's like something out of like Scream or something, you know, with this seemingly vulnerable girl, you know, doing her hair with a towel around her and stuff. And then Vega comes out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
And they have this insane fight where he beats the hell clean out of her. Like, I mean, she's ripped to shreds from, you know, he slices her back and her face and all sorts of stuff. But obviously Chung-Li's not as helpless as some females in some movies, and she boots him through a wall. Like, literally just kicks him through a wall. Like, it's tremendous. And, you know, Gail person, I'm here to save you. Just as she's laying on the floor, ruined, and there's a big hole in the wall where Vega used to be. Like, you know, nice timing, mate, you know.
Gail, that's right. He plays quite a big part in that movie as
well. Gail is a big character, and because he's the Interpol, he's working for Interpol. He's a former he's a former Air Force captain.
Yeah.
And him and Chung-Li both work for Interpol, so they work very closely together and stuff. Yeah. And it was from the way the movie fleshes out the story and fleshes out all the characters and their origins and why they're doing what they're doing. It makes the game so much more immersive. You know, you find favourites where you maybe didn't have them before. Like, I didn't really like Dalsim at all until I watched the movie, and because of the way he is in the film, it kind of makes you like him as a character. I still don't like playing as him. He's just too slow, you know. But yeah, you know, that's what the movie does for you. What do you think of it overall?
The movie was great.
Would you go to the cinema to watch it if it came out?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
I actually would. I
Me
would. Because I'm a fan of Street Fighter now, I would. The old anime style that it has, I love. I really, really enjoy that old anime style. It's the same kind of one that was used in like the original Naruto series and Cowboy Bebop. Even more resembles Cowboy Bebop and Akira than anything. Really, really like that.
There's a distinct difference between the art style in this one and the Alpha Street Fighter, which we'll come on to.
The Alpha one's more of the modern kind of style.
Yeah.
But I really like this movie. I would go see it in the cinema, and but that's because I've now become a fan of the series. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
It's hard to give an unbiased one now. But if you're a fan of the series and this movie came out in the cinema, even though you've already watched it, I'd still go watch it.
With the popularity of the Witcher series,
yes,
do you think it would work if they brought out a Street Fighter series on Netflix?
If they could have if they could flesh out a long enough story,
and it wasn't stupid and cheesy like the way the movie is. You know, if they recreated the characters in a proper way and adapted it to the screen in the way that The Witcher's been adapted, in a sense that it's serious enough and believable enough and immersive enough that people who have never played the game can watch it. It's just like, it's an alternative to Game of Thrones for people.
I don't know, because
but people who have played the game love it too.
The Witcher has like this entire world and political kind of, you know. There's a lot.
Oh, I understand, because of the way the continent's set up.
Yeah, there's a lot more. Yeah. There's a lot more kind of what's like relatability to the Witcher series, almost, in terms of like it's political. It's the stories have all been fleshed out. The lore has been fleshed out deep enough that you can really pick a story from it. Whereas Street Fighter, I don't really get that kind of mass exploration from it. The only time you really get that is if you watch Ryu do his little walks. That's the only time you realize there's like distance in between these places, but you don't see what's in between these places.
That's
true. You know what I mean?
That's true. I understand, because a lot of the thing that made Game of Thrones so immersive was the
you knew what it looked like,
the establishment of a definitive map, locations of things, and
everything.
It really does help you get immersed into the thing. So I wonder,
you don't really see it in The Witcher as much unless you play the games. In the series, you don't really get to see any like layout.
Yeah.
But you know that Yennefer's far away and Geralt's over here.
But it's like, I definitely plan. We shouldn't be talking so much about The Witcher. We'll probably do a whole show of it.
We will do a whole podcast on The Witcher.
Like within about 20 minutes of the first episode, I was googling the map of the continent to work out where everything was, and because the difference between the way the locations in the second game and the third game, I'd already had a bit of an idea of where things were, so I just wanted a context of, right, this is happening here, and then he's up there, and she's over there, and and it does make a difference. And it would, I'm not saying that they couldn't do that, but I've never thought about that before. It's literally just something popped into my head there now, and with the popularity of The Witcher, I just wonder if something like that could be done, because it's not. Yes, I understand the narrative of a lot of the Street Fighter characters is very cliched and contrived and stupid, really, because it was done a long time ago when narrative in video games wasn't really something people took seriously. But it's not to say that it can't be done in such a way that it's believable and entertaining, and it kicks ass because look at the anime, like, you know,
Yeah.
it can definitely be done.
I think they could do another live action movie, as long as they didn't.
I'd rather have a show, I'd be honest.
The Witcher has done, just going through, because this is what we're comparing it to. The Witcher has done like a really good job of taking it from the game screen and putting it onto a TV screen.
Yeah.
Whereas because Street Fighter doesn't really have that kind of realism to it, it's really kind of hard to portray that. It's like any kind of anime that's been put into live action's always been pretty difficult to watch, like Death Note, and
they did a Chung-Li movie, and your man played Balrog. What do you call him from the Green Mile? And he had a gold idol.
I can't remember his name, but
yeah, your man,
John
Coffey. Yeah. So to be honest with you, it was rubbish. It wasn't a good film, and I remember this coming out, and I watched it as soon as it came out, and because the reason why I was like, if they're going to do a Chung-Li one, then what if they do an Akuma one?
Oh,
like imagine just an origin story of Akuma.
That would be brilliant.
You know,
sure, Nicki Minaj did a song about Chun-Li.
Oh yeah, but this,
I didn't believe this. It was only whenever I was in my girlfriend's car and it came out, I'm like, wait, Chun-Li? Like,
and what is it actually
Fighter?
about Chun-Li?
There's reference in the lyrics to her, yeah.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Wow.
I can't remember exactly what there is, but I looked it up and there's little references to her in it.
Yeah, I mean they've got similar thighs, them two girls, I think, don't they? Like, yeah. But yeah, look, it's not massively relevant to what we're doing here, but if you want to get more immersed into the universe, I mean, it's not necessary at all. The game's amazing. You don't need the movie, but if you have time, watch it. It's fabulous.
Absolutely.
Really,
Anytime.
really,
if you're
really
just
good
having a
anime.
takeout with
Really
your friends,
good
just fire it on, a bit of crack.
After this here, we jumped onto the Alpha series. Now, because there's certain time constraints, obviously you can't do this forever. We play it every single second of every Street Fighter game. You know, you wouldn't get this podcast for another 4 years. So we played Street Fighter Alpha 1, and then we jumped straight to 3. We left 2 out. Okay. Did we play? No, we didn't. I was going to say because I wanted to play them on the Saturn, because there's a distinct advantage that the Saturn has over most other consoles around the time, because it's geared for 2D gaming, and the responsiveness of it and the controller, and it is just heaven for fighting games.
Did we play this one on the PS2?
One of my Saturn pads was broken and it wouldn't work. Tomorrow we put it on and we couldn't play 2 player.
Yes.
So then we ended up on, what did we play Street Fighter Alpha on?
It was either the 30th anniversary or one of the ones on PlayStation. Because
I think it was on the original PlayStation. It might have been on the original PlayStation, and then we jumped to the 30th anniversary. Yeah, because I've got Alpha 1 and 2 for the PlayStation, and Alpha 3 for the Saturn.
The Saturn,
yeah.
And the Saturn wasn't working. So we must have gone and played 3 on the 30th anniversary then.
But yeah, so the Alpha games, in terms of their timeline, this one goes back. This fills in the gap between the first Street Fighter, where Ryu has red hair, and Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And the story of this is more to do, like, the ultimate bad guy in the narrative is Akuma, or Akuma. But it's not. I don't feel it's really reflected in the. I know on the cover and that there you get, there's Ryu looking at Akuma and all this kind of stuff, and it sort of, it gives you the idea that this is going to be your end bison. But I don't know. I've never had the feeling that. I think it's maybe just because I like Akuma. I've always kind of warmed to him. There's something about him that I just thought he was super cool. The Raging Demon really helps. That is superb.
Yeah.
There's Gu Ken has a similar move in Street Fighter 4, I think. It's not exactly the same. He sort of flies through and then stands back, and then while you're standing there you go blah, 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 and there's nothing hitting you, whereas Akuma's screen goes black and you get the blah, 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 but it's a similar kind of thing. It's a command button thing, and then he just flies through you like that, because he's like one of these sort of karate dudes. It's that's
pretty
cool
cool
as well. But what's happening is Ryu has Ryu, Ken, Dan, Hibiki, all these guys, they use a form of martial arts. That's all it's called. There's no name for it. It's just a combination of a lot of things that's taught to them by their master. And these two guys, Ken, masters, and Ryu, as sort of teenagers, train together in this place. But it's very, very early that they realize, although it seems Ken is probably the better fighter, Ryu has some power within him that's making him, like, he can do incredible things. But there is a downside to it, that the power of this martial arts is so powerful that it can completely consume you, and they call it the Tetsu no Hado or something like that. It's called. It's I'm sure I have it written down here. Maybe I do. I hope so. But anyway, it's called the Dark Hado.
Dark Hado.
In the Satsui no Hado. So it's the Dark what they call it in the alpha film, and basically this Akuma or Akuma. Now, Akuma is Goken's brother because he's called Guki, and then there's Guken. But he was consumed by the Dark Hado. And that's why he has the red hair and, the pink glow around him. This is a funny thing with this Dark Hado, and it's the art style of it. It's tremendous.
Yeah, I love it.
Pink is sinister. Pink means bad.
It's brilliant.
Like, where else have you ever seen the colour pink being evil?
It's brilliant.
It's tremendous,
really,
isn't it?
nice,
It's really good. And Akuma killed his master, and he wears his master's beads around his neck, and he just travels through. It's funny because he appears and disappears. He sort of haunts Ryu.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he lives beat between planes because he's so powerful. And all he wants to do is have this ultimate fight to the death with somebody who's an equal to him. So he's desperately trying to make Ryu be consumed by the Dark Hado, so he becomes evil Ryu, so that they can have this ultimate fight for all the ages. And that's basically, rather than M. Bison's corporation thing, this is the narrative you've got here. The difference between the games, they brought in super special critical art, as they're called.
Yep.
So they're sort of double the moves, and then you build up a power bar at the bottom, and once you've got that built up, you can pull off incredible things that'll wipe out half a power or half health. Certain characters have, it's just their normal move twice, but then you've got ones like Akuma that we mentioned. You've got Raging Demon. That's actually a series of command inputs.
Ford XR1.
Yeah, on the PlayStation Scorch Ford XR1. Well done. And if you get this right, he just
glides across the screen.
He just grabs you. And then the screen goes black, and you see all the hit.
If you kill him, the screen then goes white as well.
It comes flying back, and he's standing there with his flames.
Yeah, he's in flames. Yeah. The little kanji symbol that's on his back is glowing in pink as well. Flaming pink.
He's just standing
on his back.
It is
epic.
Mega cool, isn't it? It's so good. And it's so funny that it probably it does. It has the least animation of any move.
Yeah.
There's nothing happens. It's the suggestion of awesomeness that just makes it so good. It's brilliant. But in terms of gameplay, this thing is mega responsive. If you've jumped from 2 to 3, or sorry, 2 to alpha, that's the big thing change, that I noticed. It's so responsive.
It's super smooth. It really is. It does hold up to kind of modern Fire smoothness.
Oh yeah.
And again, it's a really, really enjoyable game. 1 and 3. I assume 2 is just.
It's much the same thing.
Yeah.
Much the same thing. Yeah.
So
there's not a massive difference between 1
and 2. The Alpha
series
is
or
definitely
1 and 3 even.
Yeah, Alpha series is definitely a good game to play if you're kind of starting Street Fighter, because you get rid of all the kind of 1 and 2 bugs.
Yeah, fair enough.
And you start to have more modern game. That kind of movement's pretty common as you go through the Street Fighter series.
The little dash, the forward dash as well. It's not something that I really use, but sometimes it comes in handy. A lot of the time, I find when I do it by accident.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I try to do it right at the start so I can get like a grab in.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's a good shout.
Dash in, grab.
In Capcom versus SNK, the Square and X roll is that. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
you roll in and just.
That's a good Square Enix roll is brilliant.
It's so good, yeah. But Alpha's a superb game. You've got the whole fleshed out roster but you've got characters like Birdie and Dan Hibiki, Sakura and Yuri, and just a huge amount of characters. I can't exactly remember how many's in the original one, but obviously it gets more and more once you get to 3 as well. I mean, the idea of the first Street Fighter having 2 characters compared to like Alpha 3 is mad. I mean,
it's really fleshed out from the first.
The roster's huge. The introduction of the special moves are great. The art style's slightly different because they're younger characters, so they all look younger. And the funny thing is, Ryu has a white headband.
Yep.
But as we know from the Alpha movie, which we'll come on to,
his headband's red.
His headband was given to him by Ken, and it was a piece of Ken's gi.
Yep.
Because he cut his eye.
Yep.
So he wrapped it around him and it was red. So the very, very first one he did. Sorry, it isn't a part of his gi. Ken used to have really long hair and he had a wee bow at the very bottom. Yep. So he took the bow off and put it on Ryu to cover his eye. He's like that there, Yeah, but I don't know why it's white in the games, but then they made it red, and it doesn't really matter. It's not a big deal, but it's just
small changes. Yeah,
yeah. Maybe it was white, and then he got a big punch in the eye, and then it went red.
Blood soaked in the red. Yeah.
It just turned red. Yeah. But yeah, what's your impressions of the Alpha series? We'll take it.
The Alpha series as a whole it's good. It's not that big. I mean, the smoothness is a big change from 2, but 2 was already really good as well. So it's not really that noticeable. The only other addition was like the power bar at the bottom, wasn't it? It was the kind of build-up moves.
Yeah, well, yeah, they put in the super combos. There was air guard as well, which was introduced. A lot of people don't like air guard. No. I personally think it's brilliant.
I think it's good too. You should be able to defend yourself in the air like.
Oh, absolutely! I love it. I know it was a wee bit contentious. I've played with people that will shout at you for guarding in the air because it's not Street Fighter. It's just one of those weird things, like, you know. It's a bit like, I think it's not quite, but it's maybe a bit like camping in, you know, FPS games.
Yeah,
you know, it's a valid form of gameplay, you know, but people just hate it.
Yeah,
it's one of, you know. Anyway, I love air guard, but yeah, no, there was a lot of wee aspects that they put into it. But do you, in comparison to the first and the second one, a new Street Fighter, I mean, I tell you, see if they release a Street Fighter 4 Street Fighter Alpha 4.
Yeah.
Sorry, Street Fighter Alpha 4 for the PS4.
Yeah,
I'm pre-ordering it. I'm getting the collector's edition.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be all over that as well.
But this is what I mean. What do you think, generally speaking, gamers? And if it was properly pushed, if it was on the TV and all, you got the ads on the TV, Street Fighter Alpha in stores now.
25 quid, maybe.
No, but I mean, would people buy it? Do you think people go buy it?
Fans, no. New people, or fans, yes. New people, probably not.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a weird one to say. I think people would buy it, but it's kind of tough to say. It wouldn't really hold up. I don't think. I think it's one of those ones you buy and you're disappointed with.
The way I sort of see Alpha compared to the first one, and tell me if you agree with me. But if you had a group of modern gamers who used to play Call of Duty and Tekken and all the modern sort of stuff, the new Tomb Raiders and all that kind of stuff, and then you gave them a series of games, and in the series of games to play, you said, here's the new Tekken, here's the new Soul Calibur, here's the new Mortal Kombat, and here's Street Fighter 2 Turbo. There's going to be a distinct.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, you're going to play Turbo and go, whoa, this is a really old game.
It's really step back, yeah.
But to me, if you had Alpha in there in place of Street Fighter 2, I don't think the difference in art style is clear. Yep. It's 2D, but that aspect aside, because of how responsive the gameplay is, I don't think it would feel like an old game in the same way as 2
I would agree.
You know, so in terms of the gameplay, because of how responsive it is, it feels like a modern game.
Yeah,
you know, it looks like an older game, but that's not the point, and that's very rarely the point either. Like, you know, what game is visuals the most important thing, really?
Probably RPGs, adventures, not even the story.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like it's funny how much
cinematics. Do you like the games that they build to show off new technology, like that Control game that came out?
Yeah,
that's where that kind of stuff's more important because they're specifically trying to showcase ray tracing in that
one.
Yeah.
No, I understand. I understand that.
No, I get what you're getting at. I completely. Yeah,
you know, the
visuals are never the most important thing. They definitely play a huge role in it, but it all comes down to the kind of core gameplay and how it feels
all day long. Do you know? I would a lot of the time I would focus more on. I'd come away from a game thinking, the sound in that game was so good.
You like the audio, don't you?
Rather than sitting going, oh, the visuals are so good. Yeah, especially it comes from playing old games. Because of how important soundtracks was then, you know. And Street Fighter 2 has some of the most iconic tracks ever. Like Guile's music goes with everything. You know,
it really does. Yeah.
Anything at all, like two cats fighting, you know, or you know, a man putting his rubbish out. It's brilliant, like, and it's. God, right now, I could sit and I could hum almost every tune in Street Fighter 2. I could,
think?
Yeah. I've got a Hondas in my. It's so iconic. It's mad, and these things are burnt into your memory. Oh, I would listen to them in the car though as well. Like I would stick Street Fighter 2 soundtrack on Spotify and listen to the car. But anyway, so what would you give Street Fighter? Let's say Alpha 3. What would you give Alpha 3 out of 10?
Probably the same as 2 Turbo.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's a better game.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think it's about the same.
I have a lot of love for 2, of course. You know, it's, you know, there's a difference between what you think is the best in the series and what your favourite is. And because 2 Special Champion Edition was the first one I played, it's hard for me for that not to be my favourite.
Yep.
But I like the Alpha series as a game to play. Like if they were sitting on the shelf, the one I'm picking off the shelf is Alpha.
Alpha, yeah.
It's a much more responsive, a lot more gameplay depth, and Akuma's in it, and that makes a big difference to me. Like, you know, I really
that would make a big difference to me as well. To be honest with you,
Akuma, sorry. Following this, we did watch the Alpha movie. We'll not go too much in the Alpha movie because a lot of the things you'll say for the second one, you'd say for the first one. But this is a slightly different art style. The use of the colour pink as an evil thing, like I said, is just it's brilliant. It's inspired decision. The story brings in Akuma's younger brother Shun, which develops in a weird way we won't go into. So there's a few extra characters. You do get to meet a lot of the other characters like Dan and Birdie and stuff. They're all on a plane and they're all together, and it's so cool whenever you've played the game and you see them all. You're like, there they all are. There's all the guys.
There's the boys.
And what do you call your dude with the the Muay Thai fella with the? His hair looks like the flight of an arrow. It's like a red with a bandana. What's his name? It doesn't matter. It'll come back to me. Him and a whole rig of other ones. And it's not as good as the first one. It's definitely not. I'm going to say that right now. It's definitely not as good as the first one. It's a slower build up. The story's not shoved down your throat in the way the first one is. And that sounds bad, but it's really good the way it is. Yeah. It's just like, here is what's happening. Boom.
There you go.
But in the first one, it builds and builds and builds. And it's almost like the entire start of the movie is like a dream sequence, because there's like a big haze around the screen.
Yeah.
You know when they're sitting on the roof and they're having the little tea with Shun and stuff, and you can see the forest around them, but the edges of the screen are all blurred.
Yeah.
Like it's all white, like there's snow or something. It's weird. It's a weird art style, and like as you say, it's more akin to sort of modern anime and stuff.
Like the visuals in terms of how it's drawn and animated. Yeah.
The whole sinister nature of Akuma haunting Ryu at every turn is
cool.
It's really cool. Tense. It's very, very good. Definitely check that one out too. After this, we moved on to Street Fighter 3. Now, we didn't go through the whole Street Fighter 3 saga. We just went straight to Third Strike, and it's a spectacular game. It is a spectacular. You have. There's a wee thing. There's something I need to explain here though. When Street Fighter Third Strike came out, it wasn't. A lot of people, like if you speak to anyone within Capcom, they'll tell you that the reason why Street Fighter 3 wasn't as popular as 2 or Alpha, and 4 was the big
uprising,
the thing that brought it back to the forefront. They'll tell you that it was because they changed it up. You had Uriel and Dudley and all these new characters, your man Gil and all this nonsense. They did bring Charlie Nash back, which was something that the fans had been shouting for, but because of the whole story with Blanca and that whole thing, or sorry, Gail, I meant to say. And your man, the guy that gets shot, isn't Charlie in the movie, but it's just your man with a scar across his face with red hair. Remember, he gets shot just before you see Akuma.
Yeah,
no, it's not. It's not Charlie. It's somebody else. But there's a lot at the time. Well, me and all my friends thought that was Charlie. So when we heard Charlie was coming into Street Fighter 3, that was a big deal, and he looked completely different with the thing and stuff than what we were expecting to see. But because of how it's called a new generation of fighters, so a lot of the characters from 2 and Alpha don't make it into Street Fighter 3, and that was a problem for a lot of people. It was apparently the reason why they wanted to level the playing field, much like they did with Street Fighter 5 by putting in the V commands and things like that there too, and a lot of characters with completely brand new movesets and different little oh god, I've forgotten her name. The girl with the bum that was taken out of the game in Street Fighter 5. The wee girl with the blonde hair, and she wears like a blue outfit.
Yes, I cannot remember.
She looks like a wee bunny rabbit or something. Yeah. She has a move where she grabs you and spins you around, and that's it. But what it does is it leaves you facing the opposite direction, stumbling. So it's almost like an automatic, like a dizzy. CC, yeah. So I mean, if you can get this and pull this off, it's ridiculously OP, because you can just go and throw, and he can't defend you, and then you could just it's the perfect setup for your super combos.
Yeah.
Whereas very few other characters have that. Yeah. Now it's balanced in other ways. There's other things that she doesn't do, like her basic commands they don't cover as much of the screen as someone like Blanca, for example, but she's a very good character in that sense, and it was the same reason. This was because there had become a competitive nature with Street Fighter, and they were starting to run tournaments, and there was people that were the top of the game, and they were winning constantly. So when 3 came out, the idea was to level the playing field and give everybody a chance to shake it up a wee bit, and for the more hardcore players, that didn't really sit the best. So that's what Capcom will tell you. Now, I'm going to tell you now the reason why Street Fighter 3 isn't as popular as the rest of them is because it wasn't on the PS2.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yeah,
it is simple as that.
That's the biggest console.
This thing was everywhere. This owned the planet in terms of video games at that time. It came out on the what do you call it? It came out on the Dreamcast.
Yes, I think Dreamcast, wasn't it?
Which failed miserably. I think the original Xbox got a port of it as well. But this is the thing too, as we know, or as we should know by now, if you've been playing Street Fighter for any length of time, thumbsticks don't work. Thumbsticks are rubbish for Street Fighter. They are crap for Street Fighter.
I know people that will fight you on that, and I can't agree with them. The D-pad is how you play Street
all
Fighter.
About the D. It has to be the D-pad.
D-pad or an arcade stick. That's how I play.
I did a wee voting question on, because I've had this sort of not so much a debate, because most people agree. There's just the odd person would say, oh, but then you'll get a lot of people that will want to use the arcade fighting sticks, and 100%, like, I totally accept that. And if you watch any of the pro tournaments, it's extremely rare to see someone using a controller. They're all sitting. In fact, they all show up with their little fight stick over their shoulder like a wee briefcase. You know, it's I mean, it's fundamental to it. Like, but in the gaming group that I put this poll up on, it was on Facebook, and I can't remember, there was maybe 200 or 300 people voted on it or something like that. There, the control pad D-pad won by
a landslide.
Yeah, it was a landslide victory.
I voted for the D-pad.
Yeah, it was a landslide victory. The thumbstick was second with a good chunk, maybe say 50, and the thumbstick was like 7. Like, it may as well be nobody.
Yeah,
you know. I think so. Whereas I have preferences within games, and a lot of the time I'm not in the majority. I definitely think I'm in the majority here by telling you, if you're playing Street Fighter, play it with the D-pad all day long. The D-pad.
You get over that thumb pain very quickly.
So when you'll get a wee callus, and people will think you're a guitar player. It's great. So if you're playing with a pad where the thumbstick's at the top left hand corner and the D-pad's in the middle of the controller, it's an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. So Xbox, Switch, Dreamcast, all of these consoles are, in my opinion, they're not the ones you want to be. So if you're going to be playing,
maybe not so much specifically the Switch, because the Switch, the Joy-Cons aren't too bad where they are, because it's just a little bit down. It's not sucked inside.
I'll agree with you.
And then you can get controllers that are identical to the PlayStation.
Oh, you definitely can. You definitely can.
The Pro ones that Nintendo sell, I would agree with you in this one. That's where they're in the inside to kind of replicate the Xbox layout.
You're right. I was literally just coming on to it. If you have a Dreamcast and you want to play Capcom if you want to play Capcom versus SNK, Marvel versus Capcom, Street Fighter 3, you can buy what's known as an ASCII pad, and the I think it might have been on a previous podcast. I said to you that the good thing about the ASCII pad is that the lead comes out the top. It doesn't. It still comes out the bottom. The reason why these things are horrendously expensive. They're basically Sega Saturn pads for the Dreamcast, and if you're going to play fighting games on the Dreamcast, these are an absolute essential purchase. I have a Dreamcast. I have a whole list of fighting games. I don't have an ASCII pad, so I rarely play. And you see, Dreamcast for me is side-scrolling shooters and fighting games. Side-scrolling shooters, totally fine. I can sit and play them. Gunbird is an amazing game. And in terms of fighters, Power Stone's epic. You don't need the D-pad, but when it comes to Street Fighter,
you need your D-pad.
D-pad. And because the PS2 control pad was so perfectly suited to Street Fighter, you ended up with games such as like Capcom versus SNK.
Brilliant,
which we'll come on to later on. But because I had a Dreamcast and I quickly moved away from it because the whole thing fell apart. So we moved on to PS2 because that's what everyone was playing. That's where all the big games were. And because there was no Street Fighter 3, me and my brother got Capcom versus SNK, and so for that entire gen, that was our game. And it's funny that a lot of core Street Fighter gamers will now say that Street Fighter 3 is without a doubt the best Street Fighter game. But I don't agree. I think it's Capcom versus SNK, and isn't it funny that it's the same gen?
Yeah.
So I wonder is my opinion based solely on the fact that because of the control pad?
It's very possible. Yeah. So just to get to it, Street Fighter Third Strike is my favorite one. Of all the ones I played, Third Strike was the best one in my opinion. I loved it. See Akuma, he is unbelievable in that one.
I know.
As long as you can block and defend and keep your health, he just outputs some serious amount of damage. Then using the Raging Demon, this is the one we played whenever you first told me about it. And you're like, you were on the phone, you're trying to figure out what what it would be, on the PlayStation for me, this is where you were like,
No,
so it's like it's a light punch, forward, low kick, or sorry, light kick.
Yeah.
Uh,
Were we not playing with a different control pad though?
Yes, right. Were we playing this on PlayStation 2 with the Street Fighter Anniversary controllers?
No, sure, it was 3. Sure, 3 didn't come out on the.
You're right. Yes, sorry.
No, but I remember we definitely did. We played
Third Strike with PlayStation 4.
When it was because I've got it now. We played Third Strike on the PS4 on the collection.
Yeah.
So the controls were square forward XR1 for the Racing Demon. There was no doubt about that. It was when we were playing Capcom versus SNK on the PS2 with the Street Fighter 15 anniversary controllers, because it has square but its face buttons are shaped like a Sega Saturn pad, so it's not square forward XR1 anymore. It is, but it's different.
Instead of pressing R1, you're pressing heavy kick.
Yeah, but it's forward, and instead of going, because I can do it bump like that, so your finger, so it's square forward XR, so it's square forward XR1 like that. But on the pad, it's all on the face. Yep. So you're like, and it was a wee bit weird.
It's a wee bit tricky. I remember that. Yeah.
But yes, I know what you were going to say there. On your first attempt,
you told me about it. You just called out, press square forward XR1. I was like, square forward. First go, and I got the Racing Team, and I didn't even get to watch it. I didn't see it happen.
I was saying it to you.
Nerps was playing Dudley, and I was just whenever I did it, and Kieran, I seen him hit into him, and you started hitting my chest. I was like, "What are you doing?" Look. And I'm looking at Kieran while this thing's happening. And I turn around, I was like, "Win," and I'm like, "What the?
He totally
what did I miss?"
So his first ever Racing Demon, he didn't get to see it because I got more excited than he was. You know,
I just didn't.
Oh, Gareth, look what you're doing!
I didn't understand.
I couldn't believe it. Like your first go
on Third Strike, which is probably one of the.
But is that not testament to how responsive the controls are?
Yeah, I love it.
The first time you tried it,
Third Strike's the one I set up and play on New Year's Eve. We stuck on the Switch, and I have the 30th anniversary for the Switch, and that was just automatically the one I went to.
Third Strike,
because it's my favorite one. It's also Nerps' favorite one as well. He really,
absolutely.
Likes Dudley.
Like I say, an awful lot of Street Fighter fans that played the third one at the time will argue now, and even people who didn't play it at the time, went back and retrospectively played it, will argue that the third one is
brilliant,
easily the best of them all.
I do think it is the best of them all.
Mm-hmm. I don't agree.
I think I think while the controls are brilliant in this, the most two modern ones are still more responsive, but there's things I don't agree with in those games that we'll talk about later on.
I know, we'll get that. Yeah,
this is why Third Strike stands out to me, and I'm just have to give it like 9 out of 10, and that's the highest score.
What do you think about the parry system?
I love it. The parry system, and then
it's the only one I can parry in.
What you call it? The stun system. Whenever you do like so much damage, and there's then stun, and you get like a dirty throw in or whatever. It's brilliant.
But I mean, that happens in the second one and stuff as well. The wee dizzy thing. But
the parry system's really good, and it's not easy to do either. But once you start to learn it, you get better and better and better. It is down to a luck thing in my head, but that's just because I'm not quite there.
It will be. And what I was going to say there is, a lot of these games, and I know this from playing all sorts of games, as games move through generations, new gameplay aspects and different mechanics and functionalities added to the games. And if you have a game that you're really, really good at, and you have a way of playing the game, when these new things come in, you might not always take notice of them. You know, you've got your game, the way I play is suited me. I don't need this new functionality. But because of the way the parry system works, you literally hit forward as they're hitting you. You will start to do this accidentally, and then you will notice how effective it is.
Yep.
And then you will go from doing it accidentally to
doing it less accidentally.
Doing it less accidentally, trying to do it but not pulling it off as often as you really would like to being able to do it whenever you
want to. Yeah.
And you see at that stage, have you ever seen? It's a very, very famous video now, and
the two of them mirroring each other, like for.
Well, it was Chun-Li and Ken, and it was the final of some Capcom Pro tournament, and the Chun-Li jumps off the left hand side, the right hand side of the screen. You've got Ken, and Ken's just sort of sitting there, and because it was funny. The first time I watched this, I thought, this is the final, and he's just letting Chun-Li get the critical art out. So you can see Chun-Li, well, your man's trying to get the critical art out, because I think it's 2 half moons, whatever the move is. I think something like that. It's fairly intensive anyway. So there's about 2 or 3 attempts, and then bang, right? And you think, right, he's stupid. He shouldn't have sat there.
Yep. Chun-Li
flies across the screen and does her like kicks. Ken
He's
Parry's every single one.
yeah.
Bang, 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 bang. And the whole room goes, whoa! You know, and it's insane. Like the timing to be able to do that. Because she's going, brrr, and he's just going, bum, 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 bum.
Blocking them.
But no, parrying them. So it's the timing of his button presses is
brilliant.
exactly correct. It is incredible that a human being did that, you know?
I'm also right in saying that in Third Strike they removed the air guard, and then they added in the leap attack as well.
Yeah, no. Is the leap attack not 5? Is that in
No, sorry,
is that in Third Strike?
Not
Is
the
it?
leap attack, but you can jump and hit down. It's for the whenever you're crouch guarding.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? Like,
so you can
jump
come down
on-
from above
yeah.
like a sort of arrow, kind of like Dalsim's little
Yeah.
corkscrew thing. Yeah, possibly. Like this is the funny thing with 3 is because of, like I was saying before, in that generation I was heavily focused on the PS2. My exposure to all of these Street Fighters, I've played all of them a lot, but 3 would be the one I've played the least. Yeah, and it's
3 is the one I've played the most. But then I've
yeah.
probably played it just as much as you have.
I completely. You're right about the leap attacks, by the way. I've just seen it on my notes. Yeah, and I'm being stupid. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking there, but yeah, it's funny that this is so widely regarded as the best one.
Yeah,
and it's the
I
one
would
that
agree,
I'm the least familiar with. But that doesn't matter. I still get in there and I hand out beatings to people. You
do well. You do well.
All right,
you do well.
So we from 3 before jumping into the more modern 2.5D, whatever way you want to call them. I mean, it's still on its 2D plane, the newer ones, but the character models are 3D.
Yeah. Oh,
so,
yes, that's right.
So before we moved on to that, we jumped into some of the more
obscure ones,
the little odd ones, you know, spin-offs and the crossovers, mergers. And I love these.
You do.
I absolutely love these so much. The first one we did was we looked at Capcom versus Marvel versus Capcom. Now this Marvel versus Capcom is a funny one because anyone who is a massive Street Fighter fan, I would say would probably share my opinion in that this isn't a Street Fighter game. It doesn't play like Street Fighter. It's just mad. It's more like Smash.
Yeah.
It's just chaos.
Chaotic, yeah.
It's mental. There is massive amounts of gameplay depth there, and it's super responsive. It's super consistent. You've got all of these crazy Marvel characters. This is the problem though. It makes the game a little unbalanced because of the ability certain characters have. But almost everything can be counteracted, which is the beauty of Street Fighter. You know, is it 3? Is it 2 or 3 in that one in Marvel vs. Capcom? Because it's 3 in Capcom versus SNK. And it's 2 in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. It may be 3.
I think it's 3.
I think it's 3. You pick a team of 3.
I think is this not the first one they added 3 and 3
in? Possibly, yes. Possibly, because Capcom versus SNK Pro came out after that.
Yeah,
came out after the first one. But long before this all started with an Acclaim made Acclaim.
What a wild studio.
I know.
What was their advertising for this one?
Well, this is what they did was I don't know. I can't remember their advertising, but they made X-Men: Children of the Atom on the original PlayStation and the Sega Saturn, which is a 2D fighting game.
Yep.
If you've played Capcom versus SNK, sorry, why do I keep saying that?
Marvel
versus Capcom, it's exactly the same.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same gameplay. So the gameplay that you see in these Marvel vs. Capcom games made by Capcom is directly derived from the original Acclaim games, like the Berserker Barrage and all that kind of stuff. It's exactly the same, but you've only got about 8 characters to choose from. Then they moved on to there was X-Men versus Street Fighter as well, and then you had Marvel versus Street Fighter, I think, then Marvel versus Capcom, and then it became refined into just Marvel versus Capcom. Then it was like the one that we played was number 2, which was what was the name of it? Do I have it here? Maybe not. It's called like Fate of Two Worlds. Isn't that right? It was the one on the PS3.
Right.
It was the one on the PS3. It was Marvel vs. Capcom 3 we played. We looked at them all pretty much, but the one we actually sat down and played a lot of was that. In terms of its aesthetic, it's very different. It's very comic booky style, and you have a height to the stage that you don't have in other games. So you can travel upwards and completely leave the bottom of the stage. You can't see the bottom. Cool. You know, it's kind of mental. Like, and then if you're on the ground, it's a weird thing in 2-player because you'll disappear out of the screen. You know? And you're sitting there, and you have to still wait on him appearance so you can get your wee trip on, the wee dirty trip. But it's a lot more frantic, this gameplay. What did you think of this? Because of the difference between Marvel vs. Capcom and then obviously Street Fighter 3.
I thought it was all right. I think it was more of like an introduction to certain people. Do you know what I mean? Like they were trying to get comic book fans into the, or I don't at this point. No, the Marvel Cinematic Universe wouldn't have kicked off at this point. No way. But they're just trying to pull Marvel fans into this game series.
I think around about the Marvel vs. Capcom series, 1996. By the time the one we were playing on the PS3, you would have had like the Spider-Man movies and stuff like that. You may not have had the Avengers, but you would have had all. I
think Iron Man was the first one of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think it came out in 2007.
Was it really? Not the Spider-Mans?
No. The Spider-Mans were removed. The Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans.
Aye.
No, they were completely removed.
They were a
Sony movie.
Okay.
I think the first one was actually the Incredible Hulk. I think that was the kind of beginning of it, but Iron Man was the first one really kicked off, and I think that was 2008. So we're a good bit away yet.
Oh right, I understand. Okay, yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's huge, and it's bringing Marvel fans in. And the thing is,
at that point, Marvel was still quite.
I can't say even as a kid. No, I wasn't.
Sorry, at this point, this was whenever Marvel was coming down. This is whenever they were on their downward slide, where they had to sell the Spider-Man series to Sony to keep themselves afloat.
Oh, okay.
So I think this might have been kind of like another way of like, look, we'll let you use our characters, which are like very famous characters in your fighting game, which will bring you more.
This would have been in and around the time then that the likes of the Neversoft Spider-Man games were released for the original PlayStation.
Yeah,
the really good one, the really Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro or something, I think it's called.
I remember those. They were brilliant.
Absolutely spectacular. Climbing the top of the Empire State Building and jumping off on the PS2. Just wow. Mad.
And then you had even the PlayStation 1 as well.
Oh, sorry, the PS1. Sorry, it's PS1.
And then you had the Tobey Maguire movies that came out on the Millennium, which was also really good. So Marvel kind of got their big injection through that. But I think this was them kind of throwing
that's fair enough. While I say that for core Street Fighter fans, the Marvel vs. Capcom series
didn't really
it's a nice distraction, but I personally don't know any that go out of their way to play the Capcom versus the Marvel vs. Capcom ones. But on the flip of that, anyone who's not a Street Fighter core fan, who is a gamer, who maybe is used to playing Call of Duty or whatever, or Final Fantasy or whatever, and wants to pick up a fighting game, the Marvel vs. Capcom one is the one they're going for if they're picking a Street Fighter game.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Because it's going to give them characters that they're aware of. So I think as the wider industry, Marvel vs. Capcom has a really, really, really good reputation. But among the core Street Fighter fans, it's not quite as good as the original one. I've disregarded some for... It's just... Because I'm only going by my own feelings. I like it as a distraction. And if I'm sitting around with my friends, and most of them aren't Street Fighter players, then we'll stick that one on because it's... Everybody can play it,
yeah.
And because it's so frantic, even for a really good Street Fighter, a good Street Fighter player, even if you pick the Ryus and the Kens, and you can still get smashed to pieces by someone who's using
Iron Man,
or like even Wolverine, and just hitting all the buttons. It's just crazy. But. This is still a totally valid series. Would you take a new Marvel vs. Capcom game?
Yeah,
and if it came out Marvel vs. Capcom 6 or whatever they're up to now?
Yeah, if they brought it out, I would probably buy it. Yeah, be interesting enough. I'm looking at that new Avengers game that's coming out. I'm kind of like on the fence about it, but I think if this was to come out and it was a reasonable price, like maybe 25-30 quid, I'd probably pick it up. I wouldn't pick it up for a 50. No way. No,
I tend to buy them at gen late.
Yeah.
So I don't have the one for the PS4, but I've got the one up to the PS3 because they're, like I say, this is like I was saying about Tekken and stuff. I don't like playing too much of this game because it ruins my Street Fighter game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
Because the gameplay's so different, but it's a valid series. It's brilliant. Be aware if you're playing it in single player. Street Fighter is famous for having OP bosses, like really cheap, nasty, awful bosses. The Marvel vs. Capcom series is that turned up to 11. Yeah. It's horrendous. The final bosses are insane. What would you give? We played the third one. Would you give Marvel vs. Capcom Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Fate of Two Worlds on the PS3 out of 10?
6.5.
Really?
I don't think it's as good as 2. I don't think it's as good as
this is a PS3 game.
I don't think it was as good as the Alpha series either.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
Just to stick to my guns, I think Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Obviously, I think Third Strike's the best. I think Street Fighter 2 Turbo and the Alpha series kind of coming around the same level.
Yeah.
I think 7's a good kind of base level for a good Street Fighter game, and anything below that, it's not bad. But I think the reason that Marvel vs. Capcom sits at a 6 is because of the Marvel influence.
I think you're falling into the same trap as me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you like Street Fighter so much. The
Yeah.
Marvel vs. Capcom's become a distraction. So comparing it to, so let's say compared to the new Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat's better.
But how much better? I mean, you know, but what would you?
I would say Mortal Kombat is a good Street Fighter game, so I would say it's a 7.
So it's okay. Would
Yeah.
you? We give the new Mortal Kombat
Yeah,
7 out of
yeah.
10, would you?
Yeah. If in this list, yeah,
A lot of Street Fighter fans watching this are going to be high-fiving you. Yeah. 7 out of 10 for the new Mortal Kombat.
But it's the one that I'm playing.
Even I think that's
You think
that's
so?
harsh. Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, it is.
Just to stick to my guns. Honestly.
I maintain Mortal Kombat peaks in the trailers.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yes.
definitely. When you
Just
see the
watching-
trailers of all this stuff, you're like, "Whoa, this game's amazing!" And then you play it for 2 weeks, and you're like, "Meh."
Yeah,
on
it
the
peaks
shelf.
whenever you start to watch all the new executions. You're like, whoa, holy shit! And then once you finish with those, you're like, all right, okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll go back to Street Fighter now.
Rewatch, yeah.
Yeah.
I've played more Mortal Kombat games watching them on YouTube and being done with them because all you want to see is the finishers.
Yeah, true. Absolutely, yeah. And because there used to be a thing where it was a bit like the secret boss of the secret moves in Street Fighter. They didn't tell you what they were.
Yeah, you just
So
had to
you had
figure
to
them
work
out.
out the combinations or get a magazine or do something like that there. But now, you don't. You just have to get like fatality points. And then you hit like L1 and triangle and he just does it.
It's really easy. It's kind of annoying how.
I mean, if all you want to do is jump into the game to see the fatalities, that's amazing. But I would say for core Mortal Kombat gamers, that
That's
probably isn't the
kicking the
good thing.
teeth, really. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. After this, we jumped on to what is
Your favorite one?
easily my favorite
Yeah.
is the Capcom versus SNK series, and we went straight to Capcom versus SNK 2, Millionaire Fighting 2001. What a name!
Yeah.
What a name!
Millionaire 2001.
And then even when it boots up, you've got this weird commentator. Capcom versus SNK 2.
Yeah, it was really good.
Like, Mark of the Millennium 2001. It's like, what the hell is this? It's like the old Sega arcade games, you know, where they would go like, you know, championship, arcade, options. You know, if you pick options, there's a guy commentates on it. Like,
In a way, I like that cheesiness because it kind of reminds me of Third Strike cheesiness. If you
oh
remember
yeah.
Third
Sure,
Strike
what
had this
about the
really
song when
upbeat
you're
music.
choosing? Would the hip hop song? And it's like, choose the right one. Make
Yeah.
sure you pick them. No.
It's really good. The cheesy music in those two games kind of makes it. The Capcom versus SNK.
Yeah, you can
has
tell
got
they're the
voice-
same gen.
It's got
Yeah.
the voiceover. It's a little bit more over the top,
It's
and
mad.
it's really kind of. What's the word? It's just attractive. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The music definitely makes them two games a lot. Yeah,
What did you think of the 3D backgrounds in Capcom versus SNK?
cool.
I
Yeah, they're
really like
really
it.
cool.
I think how it works is just class. It looks. It's normally jarring to see something like that. You know, like Mario Kart 64. You've got like 2D sprites in a polygon world, and it's
just
weird. Or
what's
like,
going on?
or even like some of the Doom clones. You know, look a wee bit
Yeah.
ropey. You know, sometimes with the sprite enemies and the 3D environments. But this looks good.
Yeah,
This has
looks great.
like in the there's a level in the desert. And there's rally cars flying over your head
That's right.
as you're fighting, and the one with the big ship, you can
Yeah.
see it in the distance,
Yeah,
and
and
then it
then-
just gets closer and closer and closer.
Isn't there one with like an oil rig in the background as well? And it's, am I right, or am I thinking of something else?
Oh no, it's that's the one with the big ship,
Oh, is it? Yeah.
and it comes up through the ice.
Yes.
Yes. There's some real good ones. I really love the levels and the little London one with the bus going past and all. And
You know what I really enjoyed about this one? The square circle roll.
Oh,
The
yeah.
square circle roll.
oh yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That
They
was-
have what's known as grooves. So in Street Fighter Alpha, they brought in a thing like they were called isms.
Isms.
So you had like a V-ism or a C-ism, and these
Yes,
were
that's right,
basically
yes.
different sort of fighting
Styles.
styles, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't change how your character fought, but it would change how your power would build up. So you could end up with, like for example, Capcom vs SNK. The C groove has it's a green bar that has 3 notches. So you've got level 1, level 2, level 3 critical arts, and you can't do the Raising Demon until it's full right to the top. But then you've got some of the other, like an N groove, which will give you a series of lots of little boxes along the bottom. And once these build up, you can activate this, and it gives you an enhanced power for a time. So you glow red, and you will do more damage and take less damage. So it all really depends on how you want to play the game. If you want to do all the spectacular mega moves, I mean, the likes of the C groove and stuff is the ones to go for. And that's how it changes it up. It doesn't really change the core gameplay at all. But this one has 46 characters. It's a combination of... It says Capcom, but other than Morrigan and Darkstalkers, there's maybe 1 or 2. This is pretty much just Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Street Fighter versus
SNK.
King of Fighters, Art of Fighting, Samurai Showdown. Haramaru's in it, and what do you call the girl with the wee bird? She's tremendous too.
Oh, I hated her. You played her against me, and I just couldn't.
Flies
cope.
up the screen with a wee tiny knife.
I couldn't cope.
She's
Yeah.
wild. Like, she's very good. And this one here, I think the reason why I love this one so much was I played the alpha games. I played Street Fighter 2. I played a bit of Street Fighter 3 with the Dreamcast pad when I had it and wasn't massively fussed on it. And I have to say, at this point in time, I felt the downturn of Street Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
It was, at this stage, I was like Soul Calibur 2. Up until I played Capcom vs SNK, I would have said that Soul Calibur 2 is the best fighting game on the PS2. And it's definitely one of them. The World Tour thing is fantastic. But when Capcom versus...
I think I just got Soul Calibur 2 for the GameCube. It's coming to me. That's the one with Link on it.
You'll have Link in it, yeah. I have it for the Xbox and it's Spawn.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then the one on the PlayStation 2 has Heihachi.
Yay.
With cufflinks. It's
awful. Is this not because it was supposed to be Solid Snake?
No, I think Solid Snake did get a port to something. But this was meant to be... I think you're partially right.
Mm-hmm.
We looked this up at one stage before and we did think it was Solid Snake. But Solid Snake did get a release on something else that I cannot remember. Might have been PC or something stupid like that. But then...
Nothing stupid on PC.
and then there was another one. But whatever it was, there was a licensing issue and they couldn't get the character, so Heihachi took the place.
Yeah.
But when I got Capcom vs SNK 2, because of the previous exposure I'd had from playing SNK Neo Geo emulators and stuff, being able to pick all of these characters and pit them against Ryu and E Honda and all this, like, this is
like a wet
amazing.
dream for you, really, wasn't
it is so good. The gameplay's super smooth. It has loads of different features. You can do 1-on-1, you can do 3-on-3, you can do a ratio match.
Yeah.
So I can pick one character and you can pick up to 3, and your health will get the same health, but mine's will be over one character and yours will be over 3.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant little gameplay.
It's really cool,
dynamic. It's got a really good survival. It has the you can create your own costumes and stuff. So you can turn Chang into Santa. Do you remember?
That's right.
Do you remember
you can
Santa?
Change the colours. Yeah, you can change his.
Yeah, so it looked like the big thing was like his wee sack on his back, and he had a wee elf with him.
That was brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, it's a scream. So Capcom vs SNK, tremendous, absolutely fantastic game in my opinion. It is the best of them all. It's so good. I'm not sure what else I need to say about that one because it's very much the same. It does have air guard. It has an awful lot of gameplay, but it depends on the groove that you pick. That's what I was trying to say. You'll only get the roll with the C groove, and I think one other.
Yep, the roll was great.
The roll's really, really effective, and it's literally just like if you know the way M. Bison has a teleport where he sort of moves between, and Akuma does it too.
Yep.
It's exactly the same effect, but instead they just roll.
Yeah, it's brilliant. You just
through the character,
through them, and then you're behind them suddenly.
Yeah, and if you time your distance perfectly, then you will come up right in them, and the first thing you do as soon as you hit the button will do a throw.
Yep.
It's very, very, very effective. So it's almost in playing 2-player.
That was a one-button throw as well. It wasn't like
you just hit R1.
R1, yeah. It wasn't like the other ones where you have to press the two, the high or the light, the two.
Yeah,
light
that came in the later games. Yeah. It used to be in Street Fighter 2. Zangief has a grab move for each of his hit because he's a wrestler.
Yep.
So he has a high punch, medium punch, low punch, and a high kick, medium punch. So if you get in, he'll do it different. You can do like a pile driver or a suplex and all this kind of stuff depending on the button that you hit. Mm-hmm. It's very, very good. Whereas most other characters only have 2.
Yep.
I think Ryu has one where he throws you over your shoulder, and then he has one where he rolls back and kicks you.
Up. Yeah.
Ken's is the same except he rolls a couple of times and throws you. Yep. But what do you think of that one then? What do you think, Capcom vs SNK?
Out of 10, 8. This is probably my second favourite one.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of that's to do with your kind of love for it as well and how you displayed it to me.
You may, yeah.
But at the same time,
I laid it on thick with this one.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean,
I feel it's underappreciated because it's not as well known.
And everything, I think the newer ones are better, but like I said, I have problems with the newer ones.
Oh, yeah.
But this is definitely one of the standouts. Yeah. This is really good.
Yeah. I absolutely adore this game. Yeah. I still play it. Of all the PS2 games I have, if I lined them all up, you could pick out the one that I play the most because of the state of the it is. I've had this game since it came out. I bought it
20 years now.
I bought it on release, and I've got the same disc in the same box, and it is a mess. And it's such a grubby, dirty thing. Like, it still works. Of course, the disc is.
We'll try to get you a sealed copy of it.
I would love that. But do you know what? I bought the Japanese version just to have it on the shelf because the cover has Haomaru from Samurai Showdown on it.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
This came out on the GameCube as well, but it's called Capcom vs SNK Neo, I think it's called.
Okay,
but it's the same game.
Yeah,
and it has the Japanese cover with Haomaru on it.
Saying that, I could not imagine playing Street Fighter on the GameCube controller. Gee, I can
Imagine
barely.
that, like.
I mean, there's a time
That
when
D-pad, even if you do use it, that D-pad is awful.
there was a
That
time when I was
little
playing
one,
Tetris 99 and
so tiny.
the batteries in my Joy-Cons ran out and the batteries in my controllers ran out, and I was left to use my plug-in game because I didn't want to stop playing. I was using the GameCube to play Tetris, and it was horrible.
I'd say, yeah.
Awful.
Do you know the GameCube controller gets an awful lot of love? It has the same fundamental issues that
for Smash.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
This is the thing. It seems to be really, really well suited. It's a bit like the 64. The 64 controller was really well suited to Mario 64, but not much else.
Nothing else, yeah.
And the GameCube controller is a wee bit like that with Smash and Mario Sunshine and stuff as well. But most third-party games, you want a PS2 controller. It just makes you want to play with a PS2 controller. Yeah, happy with that. I can take 8 out of 10 for a game that came out 20 years ago. Totally.
It's a really good game, and it's probably going to be one of the first ones I buy when I get a PS2 again.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
We did a big jump after this one. We went from 2000 to 2012 and went straight into Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Now, like we said before, Street Fighter 4's gameplay is very, very similar to this, but I have to tell you about Street Fighter 4 just because of how important it is. If 2 was the one that popularized the series and popularized the genre,
4 was
the one that
it was the defibrillator of it almost.
It was the one that brought it back to life.
Yeah,
because 3D polygon gaming had kind of fighting had taken over, and to the point even because it was the PS3, Xbox 360 generation, people were really getting into story-driven narrative things. People were starting to get this aspect of playing games where you can't just play it for no reason. You need to have some reason to be doing these things. So games would come up with all these weird ways of explaining why you're just randomly punching the face of people over and over again. And games like Tekken and all fighting games took a real big dip. In terms of their popularity.
This was kind of around the time where I really got into gaming as well. 2012 was the PS3 era. I was in secondary school and I was playing Call of Duty at that point. That was the kind of first one that was introduced. It was actually Nerps that introduced me to basically gaming as a whole. And I'd played PlayStation 2 games like SmackDown vs. Raw and the FIFAs and stuff, but this was the first kind of real exposure to gaming as a group that I had with the introduction of PSN and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I think because fighting games have taken this dip, this is why I completely skipped over the top of them. Yeah,
you weren't...
Just like a pebble over water, just dipped over it.
Totally understand that.
Yeah.
I can totally understand that. I don't think they have come back to the level that they were during the 16 and 32-bit eras. I'm not sure they ever will. It's a format. It's a bit like side-scrolling shoot 'em ups. Like I absolutely adore these games, but because of because generations move on, technologies move on, games move on, certain gameplay dynamics kind of get left behind because the general consensus is it's just too dated and it's too simple, or it's not as immersive as say something like The Witcher or something.
Yeah.
But I mean these games have a place. And when it comes to Street Fighter 4, what they did was they didn't just pump out another Street Fighter. They tried to go 3D on the PS1. It didn't work. The EX plus Alpha games are horrible. They didn't just stick with 2D in the same way as SNK did with King of Fighters. What they did was they went sort of halfway through it. So they went halfway. So you've got these 3D polygonal characters still fighting on a 2D plane. But the difference that they added to it is it doesn't look real. It looks kind of comic booky, cel shaded, but it doesn't look cheap in the way that sometimes that can. What they did was they added this art style that's almost... The only thing that I can liken it to is if you know what trash polka is. It's a form of art style. You'd see a lot of people with tattoos.
Yes, like the dots and stuff.
And it would be like a big
comic book.
A big sort of, obnoxious brushstroke.
Yeah.
So you'd have like an image with like a big red blotch across it and stuff. It's very messy, but it kind of gives it this real sort of dynamic look. It's the art style's tremendous, and to be honest, I'd love a trash polka tattoo. But
is it anything similar to like Borderlands?
You're focusing on the wrong aspect. Like I see in Street Fighter, if you do a move in Street Fighter 4, like if you do like a dragon punch, he will be followed up the screen by a big like lick of paint.
Oh yes.
Do you get what I'm saying? The impacts aren't like little flashes; they're like big splats of paint.
Yeah.
And it comes right across the screen, across your characters and stuff. And even in the opening of the game, where the two of them are fighting, Ryu and Ken, it's in a white plane with all this black bleeding in. And I think it's Ken swings a kick at Ryu, but Ryu gets out of the way. And you see this from above, and behind Ryu in the arch of his kick, you see like a big splat of paint across the floor.
Okay, cool.
You know,
Yeah.
it's that kind of thing. So it was an art style that nobody had seen before in a game, and it was like, wow, this looks tremendous, and it's Street Fighter, and it's super responsive, and it's still 2D, and it just exploded. Street Fighter 4 was huge when it came out, and then they went with the Super and the Ultimate like they always do. If you're going to buy Street Fighter 4, just go straight to the Ultimate. It's the same game, but it's got all the characters
there over Christmas for, I think it was $4.99.
Yes,
I got it. And
you can get a really nice collector's version where you have Ryu and Viper, Crimson Viper. Like she's, I think, is he kicking and she's on the floor the other way around? But it's a little diorama, like a little model. And with the game, because it's last gen, 360 PS3 games aren't very expensive. You can pick this up with the model for about 10 or 15 quid.
I got the
I was actually going bad and
Store copy of it.
Yeah,
PlayStation Store copies. I got it was a $5. I was like, yeah, you know what?
Yeah,
sure.
What a game to get for a $5. Like
I just bought 5 for a $5 as well. I got the Steelbook. And we'll leave that for a little. Yeah,
we've got a lot to say about.
We've got a lot to say about 5.
No, most of it's nothing to do with the gameplay. But yeah, 4 was brilliant, and that brings us on to Street Fighter Cross Tekken. This is. I can't say that this isn't something that I've always wanted to happen. Yeah. Because I like Tekken, but I love Street Fighter, and I have friends that like Street Fighter but love Tekken. And we've always had this thing like, nah, Kazuya would kill with Ryu, or nah, M. Bison would smash Hi-Hatsu and all this kind of stuff. So now we actually get to do it, and it's done in Street Fighter 4 gameplay and aesthetics. And a lot of people would say, oh, but it won't work because the
bias towards Street Fighter.
Street Fighter characters have like projectiles, but typically the other Tekken don't. But it's Capcom they're absolute geniuses in making a balanced fighting game. This is as balanced as you could possibly hope for. You could easily pit someone like Kazuya against Ryu. Ryu could sit and throw projectiles all day long, but he has little moves that get him around it.
Yeah,
it's absolutely tremendous. It's such a good game. It has a really, really, really nice format in that me and you can play 2-player in the same team.
Yep.
So we can pick I could pick Ryu, you pick Kazuya, and I can tag you in and out.
Tag in out, yeah.
And then it's such a good gameplay dynamic, and it's something that I really wish was in all of these games.
Yep.
Because cooperatively playing through the story would just be so much fun. But yeah, you get characters, all the typical Tekken ones, but this probably shouldn't be called Street Fighter Cross Tekken. It should be Capcom Cross Namco, because Pac-Man's in it.
There's little sprinklings, isn't there?
Am I right in saying is Mega Man as well in it? There's a couple of really odd ones,
but Pac-Man's in it, which is cool. Pac-Man was brought into Smash this year as well. He was brought into Super Smash Bros. Melee, isn't it? Is that the one for the Ultimate Switch?
I wonder does his gameplay and his moveset mirror what he already had in the Street Fighter Cross Tekken? I mean, I know the button inputs will be different, but the overall move.
You can fly around the screen and everything.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like Ryu and Ken are in Smash, and they throw Hadoukens and stuff.
They're extremely strong in Smash.
So they should be.
Yeah.
What about Street Fighter 4 / Street Fighter Cross Tekken? Where are you on that one?
So I like it.
I mean, we're into the modern games.
Here, absolutely. Yeah, they're good games. They look great. They play completely like modern games, and they are where they should be. You know what I mean? There's nothing that I could. This is my level of gaming. Like, this is where a game should be.
Yeah.
4 is brilliant. It's really fun.
4's insanely good.
And then the Street Fighter. What is it? Yeah, Street Fighter Tekken, isn't it? That's Cross Tekken. That's what it is. It's not like Namco.
It is just Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Yeah. Really good. It's basically just an extension of 4. It's just an ad. It's like if it was a DLC, it would be a DLC.
Totally. And to be honest with you, because of the similarities of it, I mean, I know why they didn't bring it out as a DLC, because it would make more money if it was a physical game.
More money.
But it could have easily come out as a DLC.
Absolutely,
it could have easily,
but a really good game.
Tremendous.
I'd give that the same as I would give Capcom SNK. I'd give it Capcom versus SNK 2 an 8.
Yeah, great.
I think that's fair.
We'll get on this one.
Let's start. Street Fighter 5. I have a lot of terrible things to say about this.
Yeah.
But I'll give the positive first. The gameplay is fantastic, and it has gone above 4. It's smoother than 4. It looks better than 4.
Ken's moveset has been completely changed up.
It's insane.
And it's so effective.
The dragon kick. What do you call it?
The Tetsu.
Yeah.
I just call it Tetsu. It's too mad.
Because of that's the angle that it's at now. It's just changed Ken. It kind of gives Ken an advantage over Ryu. Almost.
If you haven't played it, typically Ryu, Ken, Akuma, These guys go up in the air and spin in a straight line. And
Yeah,
come
like
back
a
down.
180 degree.
But Ken now travels in an arch.
He
So
travels like a 45 degree.
so
kind of
even
spin.
if you're ducking, he can still catch you
Yeah.
with the first kick.
It's brilliant.
Or catch you with the last one. It just makes it's so effective.
Makes Ken really
and
strong,
then
yeah.
his kick move that he does that Ryu doesn't. The one where he goes up in the air and
Up
comes
and
down
down,
with a big
yeah.
leg.
Really, really strong.
And
for
it's
like
very,
fast
very
blocking,
effective too. I've always been. Like, if I was picking one or the other, I've always said Ryu over Ken.
Yeah.
Or Ryu over Ken because of the way the hits. Like, Ryu will hit you once and take the full damage. Ken will hit you multiple times, and if you don't get all of the kicks, you won't get
You
all
won't
of
get
the
all the
damage.
damage. Yeah.
So
That's a good balance to it. Yeah.
we things like that. But
Capcom's really good at balance.
yes, but how that balances out with Ken is because it's the same with Akuma.
Mm-hmm.
Akuma has air fireball, so he has to be nerfed a little bit. So he has the kick, the bump, 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 bump kick instead of the one hit.
Yep.
And it goes in little notches, and if you don't get all the kicks, you don't get all the damage. But the bad guy falls to the ground, so you then back off and get ready for the next attack. With Ken, you can go straight from the Tetsu into a Shoryuken.
Yep.
Even if you hit them or they block it, you can come straight to the ground and trip them up, or go straight into a Dragon Punch. So there's a reason for both, but I've always maintained that Ryu's better. In Street Fighter 5, Ken.
100%.
He is. It's insane how effective that guy is. The only problem is he looks ridiculous.
He does look
Who
ridiculous.
the hell is that guy?
Who designed him again? Like, why did he need a redesign?
I know.
He was fine how he was.
Uh-huh.
But that's all the good things we have to say about Street Fighter
No,
5.
there's more. The visuals are tremendous. The sound's great. All of the characters are very, very good.
The core gameplay
The ones that you get to use.
Shit.
Hello.
So, camera battery died. We're just going to get straight back to it. The audio users...
Why did the camera battery die, Gareth?
Because I forgot to plug it in.
Look, if you're listening to this on Spotify, hopefully you'll not notice too much of a difference or anything at all.
There shouldn't be any difference, yeah.
On YouTube, you'll probably notice that
A slight frame change and...
the pictures went off.
I'm bright red.
yeah, that was funny. But anyway, we'll just get straight back into what we're on there. The positives of Street Fighter 5 is
As a core game, it's really good.
Gameplay, visually, audio, everything is absolutely spectacular. It is, in that sense, it's probably the best one ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
This is a great iteration. Again, coming from 4 to 5, where you thought 4 was this perfect game.
Yes.
5's just gone and excelled a bit more.
And now issues, and I'm going to agree with everything you're saying here, so I'll just let you go.
It's a fucking disgrace. The game is an absolute shambles for playing it. The fact that you'll have to play this game and do absolutely everything, and you only get enough credits to unlock one character, because there is 4 or 6 characters that are released that you can use availably.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the arcade versus, you have about 40 characters just grayed out on behind unlock screens.
Yeah.
And the only way that you can get these is by playing online and winning like 100 fights.
Well,
Or something
so I
stupid.
looked this up, and I don't have the thing in front of me, what you'd need to do, but there is a little sort of individual story for each character, and if you play through that, with each of the characters that you have, and it takes a bit of time, then they release the story update where you play as multiple different characters.
Yep.
Then you get a big chunk at the end. There is a survival mode. There's 1 or 2 other little things that will give you little drip feedings of in-game cash to spend on new characters. Then after that, or once you've done that, you're on to online. And when you're online, the amount that these give you, you would need to play Street Fighter for the rest of your life and win.
For the rest of your life.
Because I'm going to double check this, but I think, in fact, I'm almost positive that you don't get anything if you don't win. And anybody who has played Street Fighter online
knows it's hard to win.
It's extremely hard to win.
Yeah.
It's I think I'm good at it as long as I stay offline. If I go online, then any pride I have in Street Fighter is gone out the window. It's different legal to get.
The other thing is they released the arcade edition, which typically would be you get everything unlocked.
Which is the one I bought.
Which is the one that you've bought, yes. And you don't get anything, really. The arcade edition is just the name change.
You still have to
get more purchasable characters.
You can purchase a lot of characters. Like you can, the roster is insane, and the amount of different outfits and all you can get. What is it? You can get like Ryu wearing a Mega Man outfit and all
really
sorts
weird.
of mad stuff.
Really weird.
There's one's dressed up as Dante as well.
Yeah.
It's just they're just mad. But the amount of money that you would have to spend to get
ridiculous.
this, you could buy a new PS4.
Yeah, I think I put this in my basket in Steam, Street Fighter 5, and then all the DLCs, and it was coming to like over £100 anyway.
Crazy money.
Over 100,
crazy money.
150.
It's
ridiculous. It's an absolute joke that Capcom thought this was acceptable to do.
And so many, like I'd mentioned earlier on, what the I don't know if it was actually your man pissing Takashi, but I read an interview with one of the developers. I don't know if you've seen this guy. He turns up at all the things and he carries a wee blanket toy around with him.
No.
He's so funny. I forget his name. Anyway, it was an interview with this guy, and he was explaining that what they did with Street Fighter 5 was because it was the same guys winning the tournaments every year, they wanted to bring out new gameplay dynamics and new characters that would give people that were new into the series. And the funny thing is, there is actually a Street Fighter, the history of Street Fighter documentary has been released. You can get it on YouTube in 2 parts. It's great.
That's
watch it.
Cool, yeah.
When they're at these events and they're talking to all the people, and obviously at the start it's like, yeah, my guy's Ryu. The amount of people that pick Ken, most people would seemingly pick Ken. There's guys that pick Base, and there's guys that pick all different types of characters. And then after that, it's all the new guys. Like you get a small amount of older players, and they'd all go for the older characters. The younger guys are none of them. I forget the guy's name, but he's he looks like he's got dreadlocks, big red dreadlocks and all, and he's got this special move where he pulls you into a corner and he absolutely
pummels you,
batters you. And this guy is really, really effective. I think the current champion plays with this guy. This is the thing. I haven't played enough of a lot of Street Fighter 5 because of the sour taste that it's left in my mouth.
Yeah.
I have sat and I have rinsed everything there is to do in the game, and I have unlocked Akuma because it was the first one I picked, and then 1 or 2 other ones. But it's like you get like the basic characters you get, like Charlie Nash, Ryu, Ken. I think you get M. Bison, Chun-Li. Maybe.
No,
I think like Zangief you have to unlock, and Balrog you have to unlock.
Blanca.
Basic character Blanca.
Yeah.
The only way to use these characters for free is if you play through. Sorry, it wasn't the individual stories for the characters. It's the arcade. What they've done is they've got Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 3, Street Fighter 4, and you play basically through the story of those games with the modern character and the modern gameplay. So you play Street Fighter 1, you can only pick Ryu and Ken, and Sagat is the last boss.
Yep. Pretty cool.
It's actually really cool.
The arcade part is very cool, but that's just what we're saying. As a core game, it's really good.
That's the only time you'll get to use an awful lot of these characters without either spending half your life playing the game or spending half your bank account. Yes, really, really, really disappointed in Capcom with this. Really disappointed.
The most disappointing thing is that they're not doing anything that other game companies haven't been doing forever now.
Yeah.
Maybe not to this extent, maybe not this extreme.
I haven't seen Namco do this yet.
But
I haven't seen SNK do this.
Just outside of fighting games, just modern games, this is how everything has gone. This is it. Everything's behind some kind of really difficult to unlock in-game wall or
this is
wall.
Killer Instinct on the Xbox One was exactly the same. It released with like 4 characters and you had to buy the rest of them.
It's a joke.
It is. It's nonsense. And Rare didn't. Did Rare? I know Rare under Microsoft. Did Rare make the Killer Instinct on the? I know your man Mick Gordon, the Doom composer for Doom 2016, the music. He did the music for Killer Instinct as well. But yeah, that's insane. That's for a different day.
Different day, yeah.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll take all of the R stuff out of it. Forget about all the corporate shit, all the crap paying for stuff and blah blah blah. Focus on the gameplay, because that's what's important here, right? In terms of the gameplay, where do you think it ranks?
In terms of the gameplay, it's the best game.
It is.
It's better than Third Strike, but I can't ignore this. It's just so much of the game, you can't ignore it.
I know.
They've cut off like 90% of the game and said, there you go, you can buy this at our AAA price, but you also have to give us all your money to play your AAA game.
I would liken it to, do you know the way the Stadia has, you pay for your subscription
and then you pay for the games on
I know
the
you
store,
think you've already paid for this, but no, now
haven't.
you actually have to pay the real money to actually play the games. It's
a joke.
It's corporate nonsense, to be honest with you. But
and if I'm giving Street Fighter 5 a score out of 10, disregarding its whole downside, the bad side, it's gonna be a 9 to 9.5.
Yeah,
but including everything, it's a 4. It's not even on my rate. That's just a piece of shit that just needs to go.
To be honest with you, I played through everything there was to do in the offline game, and that sits on my shelf and I haven't touched it.
Exactly.
If I'm playing Street Fighter, I'm hooking up a PS2 and playing Capcom versus SNK.
I bought the Steelbook edition for a $5.
Yeah,
because I collect Steelbooks,
and it's a particularly nice one.
It's quite nice. And whenever I stuck it into the PlayStation to play, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about all this shit. Let's put this back and
download.
Let's buy 4 for a $5 online and get everything.
Yeah,
for a $5.
Well, that's our journey through Street Fighter. We have a wee bit still just sort of closing. I want to tell you about another thing. I'm not sure I showed you this. I might have posted a picture in the gaming WhatsApp group. I'm not too sure, but I have a wee Pandora's Box 11 in the house, and it has all sorts of crazy variations of very popular games. So King of Fighters and things like that there. But there's Street Fighter 2, and there must be about 30 different versions of Street Fighter 2, right? And they are fundamentally different.
Okay.
Right. So I'm pretty sure I sent you a video, and you see, the moves are insane. Right. You can throw a fireball. Right. There's one I was playing. I forget what it's called. It's called like Street Fighter 2. They've got random names like like bus, car, chair.
Are these like user-made games? Like
yes.
So
somebody's hacked the game and put out a new version. When you throw a fireball, you don't throw one fireball. You fire two that goes.
Oh yeah, like
it's nuts, and you can do like a one of the Tetsu kicks, and it's mad. The speed at which you come off the ground and hit the other side of the screen, it's like woof, and in like half a second you're gone. It is mad.
It becomes like an anime fighting game.
It is so buck mad. It really is. But I can't say it's not fun. It's really, really good fun, and it's super quick.
A lot of hacked Pokemon games as well. So they'll take like Pokemon Emerald and they'll just rewrite the entire story. All the Pokemon and stuff stay the same, but the story and the levels are all kind of redone, and they're wonderful. They really do feel like a big gap in the release because a game like Pokemon, Street Fighter only releases every 4 or 5 years.
They go through fits and spurts. You know, you'll like during the
PlayStation 2 when they were releasing all the crossovers. There was like one every other year.
The 1632-bit and then obviously into the PS2 era, they were fairly regular releases, and then they went about 10 years.
What was the difference between 4 and 5? Was it like 6 years?
If even that, something like that. I should have it on here. 4. Well, sorry, no. Street Fighter Cross Tekken was 2012. I think Street Fighter
2011.
4 was 2010, 2011. Yeah, so you're looking at about 5-6 years.
Yeah. So we're looking at the point now where we'll be getting Street Fighter 6.
Oh yes. Yeah. I already know when it's coming out.
You have this. You've done this research and have this theory on.
Yes, it's coming out in January of 2021.
Because of what an executive said to a pro player.
No, what happens is so the pro competitions for Street Fighter, if you win, you automatically qualify for the next year.
One,
But the only time where people who win the competition don't automatically qualify is if the competition is going to be a new game. So that happened with 4 into 5, and the winners of this year's one
have been told they're not going to qualify.
Sorry. The winners of this year's one will qualify for the one that's in November, December. The winners of that won't qualify for the following one in 2021. Because 5 released right after the tournament in January, I would surmise that 6 will come out 2021 January 2021. So we're talking after a year.
Yeah, a year to this day.
God, be mad if it was. But it should come. I would, based on that and nothing else, absolutely nothing else. I have no inside knowledge. I would say it'll come out probably a month or so after the next tournament, which is due to take place in November, and this November sort of December, towards the end of the year anyway. I
hope so, and I hope it's not some absolute horse shit like Street Fighter 5.
They haven't received as much of a backlash as you'd think.
Seriously?
Really. Honestly, I find it deplorable. I really, really do. But there's an awful lot of fans that are willing to just gloss over it and just keep going.
Nah.
You know, it's funny. So, in general, I have a few wee questions to get through here, right? Just to wrap this all up. So, in general, the Street Fighter franchise, does it still hold up well today? Is there do you feel there's a place for this?
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
And then in terms of the modern versions of the games, you've played the old ones and you've played the old and the new ones. How do you feel the new ones capture the feeling of the aspect of the original games?
Well, yeah. I don't think there's a lot. I don't think between 1 and 5 there's a lot of.
There's not real distance.
Loss,
I completely agree.
There's improvements visually, mechanically, and as a game, which is what you'd expect.
Yeah,
and that's brilliant. You know, I mean, Street Fighter as a series has always seemed to have gone from better to better to better to better.
Yeah,
until right now, where it's worse.
and to be fair, the gameplay and everything else is better. It's just that it's the money making aspect.
The political part behind it is awful.
Yes. In terms of other fighting game franchises that you've since experienced, maybe
Mortal Kombat,
Tekken, Mortal Kombat, or whatever else, Smash, and even where would you rank the Street Fighter franchise?
Street Fighter's my favorite one.
Good.
Honestly, yeah.
I don't mean to say good. I say good. Well done. That was the correct answer.
That was the correct answer. No.
But I feel exactly the same way.
Mortal Kombat's nipping in its ass. I'm not gonna lie.
I think so.
I've really started to get into Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat's good in a different way.
Yes.
To be honest with you, I don't think it's even close to Street Fighter. But there's a place for Mortal Kombat. There definitely is, and it's fun to play.
But Street Fighter is the one I keep going back to.
The gameplay dynamic with the way that the Street Fighter game works in the same way as the SNK ones work, and even Guilty Gear.
Yeah, Guilty Gear was fun. Yeah,
Guilty Gear's a mad game.
Was really fun
horrendously unbalanced, but a very, very fun game. In the way that gameplay works, it makes more sense to me than the way Mortal Kombat works, with its sort of timed hits. It's kind of more like Killer Instinct or even Soul Calibur attacking, now. But yeah, no, that's good. In hindsight, do you regret not getting into it sooner?
No.
Okay.
I think this whole
maybe you should.
Yeah, I think this whole throw it at me in one go is it's really sunk a love into it for me now.
Good,
yeah.
good.
Because this is, we spent an entire day, from about just before midday all the way through to the early hours of the morning playing Street Fighter and watching Street Fighter.
But Street Fighter, yeah.
And the fact that I've come away wanting to play more after over 12 hours of solid playing and watching, just consuming Street Fighter, it says a lot for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Street Fighter specific games, right? And a lot of these you've touched on, but I'm going to blast through them very, very quickly. Favorite Street Fighter game?
Third Strike.
Favorite Street Fighter character?
Akuma.
Favorite controller to use?
The 15th anniversary edition.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would probably say PS2 over it, which is mad. Because I've always been Saturn. But you seen yourself when I started using these pads, how hard I found it to try and get certain moves off. It's because I've played Capcom vs SNK 2 so much
that
the PS2 controller is Street Fighter for me now. And do you know what? I feel a wee bit ashamed of myself.
Well, this is the thing. I've been toying with the idea of buying one of the backwards compatible PS3 so that I have one console that I can play 3-1.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Just play them all.
And that's brilliant. But at the same time, I actually think I'm going to buy a PlayStation 2. I've already got a PlayStation 3. It's not work backwards compatible. But I think I'm going to buy a PlayStation 2 just so I can use the 15th anniversary edition controllers.
Your PS3 will play PS1 games?
Yes.
So if you get a PS2, you've got all bases covered?
Oh, yeah. The PS2 will play PlayStation 1 games as well. So.
Oh, yes, of course it does. Yeah. Yes, you're right. Right enough. Right. That question I literally just asked you. It doesn't matter. Can you... Right. So, I think you've already touched on this, but... Do you now see why this is the way it is? Why people are so fanatical about it?
I understand why. Yeah. So whenever Street Fighter 6 comes out, I am probably going to pre-order it. I don't pre-order games. Yeah. I don't pre-order. I don't believe in pre-ordering, but there are some games that get exceptions. Metal Gear Solid's an exception. What else would be an exception for me pre-ordering? If a new Counter-Strike game came out, I would pre-order it. Maybe the new Call of Duty, because of how Modern Warfare has hit me. Yeah, and Call of Duty was one of those games that I did just instinctively pre-order. Now Street
Fighter's going to join that.
Street Fighter's
so this kind of leads me on to the very last question then. So in terms of franchises that you would play regularly, your favourite franchises, I know you like World of Warcraft, you like Call of Duty, you've mentioned a number of things. Pokemon, obviously. Where does Street Fighter fall in amongst that? Is this one of your franchises now, or is it just
top 5?
Is it really?
It's a top 5 franchise.
Okay, so with that meaning, I think this has been a resounding success.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has been, hasn't it? Future ones may not be like this.
No, I might give you a game you're going to detest it. I might give you some battle royale games. You don't particularly like online multiplayer gaming as such, like versus. So I'm expecting that one there to be horrible.
Here, I'll go in it objectively. I will play it and I'll give it a go and see the times that we played Fortnite together. I enjoyed it. I had fun. But this is the thing. A lot of my gaming, I live with my girlfriend, and if we're not playing something together, it's like she's playing, say, The Witcher, and I'm playing fucking Grand Theft Auto or something nonsense like that. If it's not Grand Theft Auto Online, it's rare that I'm actually playing with somebody. So all of my gaming is done solo.
Solo, yeah.
And the idea of sitting in the house, unless I've got friends online waiting to play with, the idea of going in and sticking Fortnite on and playing by myself is
it's horrible.
Just
I don't play
madness.
multiplayer games on my own either.
No.
I don't play those battle royale games on my own. No.
Like I know people that sit in the house and play Call of Duty by themselves
Aye.
with nobody on that they're friends with.
If
They'll
I-
maybe talk to lobbies with random people, which that's up to them if they want to do
If
that.
I get into the house and
But I
I
can't
want to play a
play.
bit of Call of Duty and William's playing something else, I'll be like, hey, you want to play Call of Duty? And he says yes. I'll be sweet. If he says no, I'm like, well, I'm not playing it. Or else I'll go upstairs and ask Chloe, do you want to play Call of Duty? And if she says yes,
If you can get somebody to play with you,
if I
yeah.
get someone to play with me, I'll play Call of Duty.
Yeah. So when it comes to doing this here, because this leads us on to what's coming up. We did mention before that we're going to try and do this. We did warn you that this was going to come, or not warn, but preview. We teased it, because it's amazing. But yeah, we're going to try and do Kieran plays now as opposed to Gareth. I think he's already mentioned it. I think
we're going to do Call of Duty.
he's looking me to get on and play Call of Duty Modern Warfare online.
We're gonna do well.
And I'm sort of half trading it.
We've got a few copies of Modern Warfare we can get going, and
Yeah.
I think I'll probably throw it back to. I'll pick out the best ones like 4, World at War, Modern Warfare 2.
Are these things still up? Are the servers still up for
Oh,
these?
absolutely, yeah.
So,
You're gonna have to whack out the old PS3. And
that's okay.
Get it going.
I literally only just got a new PS3 the other week. Yeah.
We're gonna have to get it going. So we'll definitely get some. We'll definitely get it going.
Class.
You've played a lot of the stories already for Call of Duties.
Yes. Up until very recently, my favorite story was World at War, but recently
This is
and
this is soul destroying that you're saying this to me.
Infinite Warfare is the best Call of Duty.
No.
It is amazing. It's such a good game.
No.
It's brilliant. You get to fly around and freaking the orbit above. It's just such a good, and it's set up like Mass Effect, where you have your bridge and you can tell them, I want to go here, do a mission there, do this, and you can do it in any order you want. We'll
hold off. We'll hold off on this for the whole pod.
We're going to do Kieran plays.
Yep.
We're going to do years in gaming.
Which we did. We just did our 20. Or sorry, you mean?
Well, yes, there'll
pick
be
out-
yearly reviews. We'll do that every year, like everybody does. But what we're going to do is we'll maybe do a wee feature where we just focus on 1982.
2006, that kind of thing.
Or whatever. And we'll just tell you all about everything that happened in that year and anything that we can contribute to that from our own experiences. Unfortunately, Gareth maybe wasn't born then.
No, 1992. No, I wasn't. I was 2 years out.
Feel old yet? Then we'll obviously pull out a lot of modern topics. We'll talk about things that are actually going on in the industry right now, and reviewing.
We've just pushed out a news episode as well. So
yes, there's while we're recording this, there is actually the news for December.
December, yeah,
is uploading. So
by the time I get home and
by the time you watch this, it's already
right,
there. Yeah. There's obviously news. We're gonna get a website set up. We're gonna hopefully get a forum set up. We're active enough on social media, but life gets in the way. And
I'm fairly quick to get back to YouTube comments.
If you want to chat to us, if you want to ask us any questions, if you just want us to focus on anything like that or anything at all, you just want to be chat, fire it in, and we'll get back to you.
They're all in the show notes.
Yep. But other than that, I just want to say thank you to a man known as Nerps. Or Noipes. Because his knowledge in Street Fighter 3 was invaluable, because like I say, I didn't really have the exposure to it that I would have liked.
Street Fighter 3 was his favourite one, and he knew so much about it. But Nerps knows a lot about everything.
He does.
And it's ridiculous.
It was good for me because when we were playing 2-player, I mean, it's listen to me, it's fun to win, but it's not fun whenever you're beating people over and over again, because you start to kind of
feel a bit bad.
You feel a bit bad, and then you sort of just
I
go.
did New Year's Eve whenever I clapped absolutely everybody on Third Strike.
You guys play, but
and
it was
then
good.
I got banned from playing Akuma.
Yeah, because Nerps is a good player, so it was, and then we had another fella called William as well, which is actually Gareth's housemate. So and he was brand new to the series as well. So it was a nice wee dynamic, the four of us playing. And just thank you very much, guys, for assisting us. That was really, really, really good. That's pretty much us for this one. I hope you really, really enjoyed it. Get a like, subscribe, all that social media stuff.
Swipe up.
Yeah, swipe left, swipe whatever way you're supposed to do it in this here.
Ring the bell, ding, ding, ding.
Whatever, do all that stuff. We're talking about, we're fairly close to 4,000 subscribers on Facebook. Yeah. Our Instagram's not quite as popular because obviously it didn't go up as early as the other one. We're trying to get a wee bit more exposure on Instagram, and we're going to run a competition. It's coming up. We'll try and leave it until this is aired, so that you can hear this, obviously. And then if we can try and get it, just to get a wee bit more exposure, just to get it out there, get more people listening to this. I mean, it's great that it's popular, but I mean, if you enjoy this, you'll know that it's better if people hear it, get more people in the game, and what's wrong with that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But other than that, that's it, guys. Thank you very, very, very much if you've made it all the way to here, and if you don't like Street Fighter, you do now.
Yeah.
See you later.
See you later, guys.